Your hearing aid? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Please silence your cell phones. Before we open up the meeting, we'll have an invocation by Chaplain Joe Sumgo. Is he here? Joe? There he is. Okay, Joe. And then the pledge by Supervisor Surdy. So those that want to participate may stand.
Good morning, Board. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we gather today. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that we would challenge each other to reach higher and farther to the best we can be. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you.
Would everybody join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and let's see if I can figure out how to operate this thing after I instructed everybody else. My apologies. Okay, let me call the Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting for Wednesday, May 28, 2025 to order. So first thing we have on the agenda is the county manager's report.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chairman. First wanted to let everybody know that 39 of our new summer interns were welcomed yesterday, and so thank you to all the staff that participated in orienting them, and I hope they have a great and enriching summer here, and so welcome to them. The other thing is we have a video of kind of the work session item on the ASU Decision Theater that you all participated in on May 14th. I would like to say about that, the video will get into the details about what it is, but I think before it plays, I would just note that let me first say the reason why it was inspired in the first place had to do with the development of our regional transportation plan that we were doing through the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority. And former Mayor McFarland had identified with ASU that this tool could be very instrumental in helping us make data-informed scenarios regarding these transportation corridors for the region. So if we were able to gather all the information from all the cities, from all the MPOs, from the county and from the PRTA, put them all in one place, we can analyze and create scenarios based on that information. And part of the really cool thing about that, too, is we all know that technology and innovation changes quickly. If we have a base for all of these informations with a developing modeling tool, then we can put those new innovations and technologies into that tool as well and see, well, what does it look like now based on the way that society is changing on these innovative technologies, et cetera. One of the other cool things about it is that when it has information around infrastructure and utilities and whatnot, you can do scenarios for, what are the optimal places to put these types of businesses or industries, and what effect would that have on these areas. So pretty cool. They did the presentation, and I think most, if not all, you were there. But I'd like to show it to the public, and then, of course, for any others, city, county managers, city elected officials that haven't seen it, an opportunity to see the clip, and then if they want to watch the whole thing, link to our website and watch the whole thing. Thank you, Chair.
I'm with ASU's Decision Theater, and what we do is we help design computational data-based tools that help people make decisions about really complex challenges that are facing society.
The ability for us to put in data from all the counties and municipalities, and then put it into one spot, and then ask different questions. It can do everything from tell us where's the best place to put a solar field, to where should our roads go.
How effective the road would be there and how it would be received, how people feel about it. We can also include environmental things. What would this do for air quality in that region? How does it impact maybe temperature changes, because maybe asphalt holds on to the temperature a little longer. So all of these different aspects we're able to incorporate.
By bringing this all together, the data all together, we can actually look at it from a micro standpoint. I can look at it just for Casa Grande or just for a road in Casa Grande, or I can look at it for the whole region.
We do a lot of work in water systems, projects about power systems, a lot in workforce development, and how workforce should also be considered in tandem with the education system. And we also do stuff in health in general, and health outcomes both on a very individual level, a society level, and more broadly as a state health. These types of capabilities can be applied to a lot of different topics.
This could help us in so many different ways. It could help us in economic development. It can help us on, where should our housing be built? Where should our roads be built? There's so much power to this system that if we do it right and we all work together, we can really make a difference.
Projecting not just what seems to be the need right now, but based on where we think things are headed, what's going to be the need in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, and how can we proactively start acting in a way that will support that development. We can also consider the economic and business impacts of those decisions. What would it mean for business in the area if there was a new highway that connected point A and point Z? What would that do economically for the region? What would that do for jobs in the region? And without making any assumptions about if those are good or bad things. And so getting the public to weigh in, would a huge business investment here in a new headquarters be seen as a positive thing or not? But also paired with how those transportation decisions make that more or less feasible and attractive.
This, I believe, is the single biggest thing that we could actually do to improve the county.
All right. I'm sure we'll have more discussions on that in the future on how we may be able to use it. Anything else in your report?
That's it. Thank you, Chairman.
Presentation of certificates of service to employees 20 and 25 years. Mr. Liu, you're up again.
Yeah, thank you. We have 3 employees to honor this morning. First, we have Sherry Robles, who's been with the clerk of the Superior Court for 25 years, and Ms. Padilla is here. Did you want to speak?
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Supervisors. Good morning. I would like to extend my gratitude to Sherry Robles for her 25 years of dedicated service to the clerk's office. Sherry has served as a courtroom clerk, and throughout her tenure, she has been a valuable asset to the clerk's office and to the Superior Court. Sherry's willingness to train new clerks and share her knowledge has had a lasting impact on my office and our courtroom clerk department, shaping the development of countless team members. As a mentor to many, many of our courtroom clerks, she has guided others with patience and insight, always striving to uplift morale and foster a positive work environment. Sherry's contributions have made a significant difference, and I am so grateful for her continued dedication to the clerk's office, to the county, and to your position. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful ride.
We blocked out 20 minutes for your speech.
I do want to thank my work family back here, my coworkers, Chris, Erica, and Tristan. They've been my rocks throughout the years. Thank you.
Don't leave. We'll get a group photo after all of these. Yeah, he's back there.
Next, we have Charles Williams, a.k.a. What's Up, Chuck? Been here for 20 years in development services.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, Board of Supervisors. Joe Ortiz, Development Services Managing Director. I'd like to say just a quick few words, and I'll turn it over to Celeste Garza. She's his direct report, so I'm sure she has some good words for him. So just quick background, Charles started over 20 years ago, back in 2005 as a quality assurance inspector. That's back when we had the original Building F, which is no longer there. He was committed to professional growth, and he soon promoted to what we called back then was a principal engineering tech. Now it's a civil engineering tech senior, but he did that back in 2013. Continuing in 2017, he was promoted to quality assurance supervisor. And then now here recently in 2021, he was promoted into district project manager, where he is assigned to District 2 and District 5, Supervisor Goodman and Supervisor Surtee. So one quick story, and I'll turn it over, is that will help you get some perspective on Charles and his character and his dedication to Pinal County. Poor Charles actually lives in Oracle, and as you know, there's some trying times in Oracle right now with the fire that happened, and he actually had to evacuate last week. Hopefully he's back in today. But I called and checked on him late last week, and said, hey, how you doing? He let me know, yeah, they evacuated. They were staying at another location just outside of town in Mammoth, and somehow the conversation shifted to, and it wasn't me, it was Charles, shifted to Cody Loop, because we have a road construction project on Cody Loop, and just giving me the laydown of what was happening out there and where it left, and some of the damage that it was done. And it's like, well, that's cool, and I appreciate that about Charles. He's always keeping his professional in mind, even in that trying time that he had to be evacuated out. So that's the kind of stuff that Charles is about. That shows the character of this guy. With that, I'll turn it over to Celeste.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, members of the board. I've had the privilege to work alongside Charles for the last 19 of years of my service here, over his 20. So it's been truly an honor. He is incredibly valuable to this organization. He has worked on nearly the entire countywide with projects. He's worked in Supervisor Surtee's, many things in Supervisor Goodman's, and Chairman Miller, he's working on Papoose area for you. So he's touched nearly everything. He lives in Oracle. He takes very much pride in that community and the things that we've been able to do out there. So I'm really proud of the work that he's done. He consistently communicates with residents with, professionalism, respect, even when navigating some of those difficult topics. He's come across some really challenging situations as district manager. He also has a strong technical and construction management experience background in which I bounce ideas off him all the time. So he exemplifies leadership, teamwork, collaboration, whether with other agencies, consultants, contractors, and even our internal construction and maintenance crews who are part of that team that's in the back there. He's more than just a manager. He's truly a public servant in every sense of the word. So I think he probably has, he doesn't look a day over 25, so he has probably 10 more seasons of What's Up, Chuck in him. So we thank him for his service and for his friendship. So.
Next, we have Robert Burgett with Information Technology. He's been with us for 20 years, and I believe Mike West is here with him.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board. My name is Michael West. I'm the Interim Deputy Director for Information Technology. I have a few things here to say about Robert Burgett. He began his career in Pinal County in April of 2005, joining as a service desk analyst. Over the years, he has steadily advanced through a series of increasing technical and critical roles within our department. Senior service desk analyst, PC analyst, computer network specialist, which was reclassified to an IT network specialist, and most recently last year, he was promoted to IT engineer security position. He has played a vital role in supporting the elections department prior to their establishment in their new elections facility. His responsibilities included updating hundreds of poll pads and traveling across the county to retrieve video files during previous challenging election cycles. Throughout his tenure, Robert has been recognized multiple times by various county departments for exceptional performance and dedication to his duties. Some of his key projects, like I mentioned, were the elections, managed their server backups and restorations, along with the backups and restorations for the rest of Pinal County. And most recently, he led the migration to our new backup system. Alongside his professional achievements, Robert is an amateur gold prospector and honorably served in the United States Air Force from 1983 to 1992. Mr. Burgett, your extensive knowledge of all areas of IT continually impressed me. Over the years, you've been entrusted with numerous one-off and highly specialized tasks, and you've consistently approached each challenge without complaint, with a smile on your face, taking on even the most complex projects with dedication and professionalism. Your impact has been felt across departments, and your contributions have left a lasting mark. Thank you for your service, dedication, and the many ways you've supported our team over the years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Kevin, you ready? Take a picture of all these great employees. Let's go down. John, thank you for your service, too.
Scrunch in, not that you're hiding from him, but a little bit. Come up just a little bit. There you go. Right up here. And scrunch over a little bit. There you go. Come over. There you go. There you go. Goodman, come over on that side. Surdy, come back over here again for me. There you go. Looks good. You guys ready? Okay, and nice big smiles. 3, 2, love it. We're going to do one more because somebody always blinks. Big smile. 3, 2. Nice, thank you.
He's not worried about it.
Oh, yeah. All right, thank you, everyone. Always great to see how many dedicated employees we have that go the distance. so it's a great day. Item number 3, Supervisor District notable current and upcoming events. I'll start with Supervisor Surtee. You have anything?
So, yeah, I do. I got lots of positive news from District 5, and one is the Supreme Court weighed in finally and gave the go-ahead for Resolution Copper to get producing, which is not only big news for District 5 and Pinal County, but the whole state and the whole country. So that'll be great after all these years to finally get that going.
Exactly.
And also, if you should be watching the news to keep up on fires, et cetera. And then the heat that's coming, we're already starting to have fatalities. And as we filmed this video, there was actually a fatality happening in Scottsdale in a park. So along with our new Parks Director, Scott Hamilton, who I've already learned a lot from while making this video, we filmed an informational video that we hope everybody will watch to keep people safe. And you'll see the content, and it kind of speaks for itself. So thank you to Mr. Hamilton for helping with this, and Kevin. I'm Jeff Surtee, District 5 Supervisor here in Pinal County. Every summer, despite the warnings, people go hiking and we have fatalities and heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Let's not do that this year. We're going to have some tips on how to avoid it.
Hello, my name is Scott Hamilton. I'm the Director of Open Space, Trails, and Regional Parks for Pinal County. We have a plethora of outdoor opportunities all across Pinal County, and we want you to enjoy them, but we want you to enjoy them safely. And there's a few simple tips that you can follow to keep not only you, but also your dog safe as you outdoor recreate in Pinal County.
Maybe the best advice I can give you is don't even go in the summer. A lot of the old timers, they swore, don't go into the mountains in any month that doesn't have an R in it.
The number one tip for safety in the desert is hydration. Be sure the day before you plan to go out that you hydrate your body, that you're drinking plenty of water. And when you do venture out, make sure that you bring more water than you think you're going to need. And when you're out on the trail, whatever point you get to and your water is halfway gone, that's a great indication that you should turn around because you'll have the second half of your water for your return trip back to your car.
Also, remember protective gear. Right now, the sun's beating down on me. I have a hat. I would hate to be out here without this. I've got long, light sleeves, sunscreen. All of those things help.
The good general recommendation, taking at least 1 liter for every hour that you plan to be out. That's the big bottle, not the little bottle. And for longer trips, you could take larger containers like a gallon.
Another thing to consider is if you do need rescued, you're also putting our first responders at risk. It's the last thing they want to do is come out here in the middle of summer and rescue you. It's expensive, it's dangerous. Just stay home, go in the winter. It's so much more pleasant, and you have a lot more chance of surviving because there's people out here, there's law enforcement, there's other hikers. Right now, we're the only ones out here in the area. There's no one to save you. Make sure your phone is charged and you get a good signal. All of those things, very important.
Planning ahead is also crucial. Make sure you check the weather forecast, not only for the specific spot that you plan to recreate, but also check the temperature throughout the morning. Make sure you get out when it's nice and cool, but be warned that the desert temperatures climb dramatically throughout the day. So check what temperature it's going to be when you plan to finish and beyond for the event that when you're out on the trail, you take a wrong turn, you go a little longer than you thought. You need to plan for the end of the hike, not just the beginning of the hike.
And remember your four-legged friends, too. A lot of ranch dogs, coyotes, their feet are conditioned to walk on this stuff. A lot of house dogs or dogs that casually go out aren't. And if they're panting with their tongue out, that doesn't mean they're happy. It could well mean they're in distress. Get them off the trail, get them water, get them home.
Another recommendation is hiking with groups. Not only telling somebody back at home where you plan to go, when you plan to be back, but also when you're out with your group, there's safety in numbers. But be sure to not leave anybody behind. If one of your group members isn't feeling well, stick with them. Make sure they're not exhibiting signs of heat stress, excessive sweating, flushing, excessive thirst. Another sign of heat stress is they begin to not quite think so clearly. So if you suspect that, sometimes people won't tell you that they're experiencing heat stress. Just talk to them, ask them questions. You will realize very quickly if they're experiencing confusion or not. If they are, get them into the shade, wet them down as best you can. Bandanas and cool towels help really well. And if you need to call 911, call 911 to get the help that you need.
If we've forgotten anything, one might be, if you're going right before dark, odds are you're going to be walking back in the dark, so bring a flashlight. And there's a whole different set of dangers at night. One is the snakes come out. Right now it's safe out here, it's too hot for snakes, but at night the rattlesnakes do come out.
And these hills out here, they're going to be as either hot in the summer or cold in the winter and as lonely as they were 400 years ago. Even though you feel like you're close to town, you're in a very remote area, and if you do need rescue, it's going to take quite some time to get to you.
And we love our scenery, we love our tourism, we're so proud of it. We want you to visit, but if you visit this time of year, please be careful. We don't want you to be a statistic, we want you to come back again.
Thank you. Thank you. Rich, do you have any update? I'm going to go back and forth here for a minute.
Just a quick, so first of all, thank you everybody for showing up today. And I just want to mention that the community room at the Maricopa office that I work out of has been turning out to be quite the winner. We've got people coming in for all different types of meetings, whether it's city people or people out in the county. They come out and they use the room, and it's there for the people to use. So on 5/15, I attended the ADOT meeting, and of course, it's one of my favorite subjects is the 347. As you may know, we're trying to get on the 5-year plan, and also, again, with the contribution from the county, and also with the city did their half-cent sales tax, we're probably going to get on this 5-year plan. So continue with those emails to us. I know my gentlemen to my left here are probably not happy with all those hundreds of emails we get, but let me tell you something. It gets to every people in the state, ADOT, and all of us, and the more we keep pushing for the 347 to be fixed, the more lives we will save, and people will go to work and come home every day without worrying about being in an accident. Then also, Mr. Miller asked me to attend NACO, the National Associations of Counties. It's a conference that they hold twice a year, and I attended the one in South Dakota. It was a beautiful land, beautiful place to live, and I learned a lot. Ended up meeting with several people, again, talking about energy and water, some of the two biggest topics that we have here in the state of Arizona. And I learned a lot, and I'm glad that he asked me to go because, like all the other conferences that I attended when I was a city council member, you always come out of there learning something different that you thought you knew that you didn't know. So I appreciate you having me go, Steve. I really do appreciate it, Chairman, and I look forward to the next one coming up. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Supervisor Goodman. Do you have anything?
I do. Thank you, Chair. First of all, we have a town hall meeting for the Snowflake. Where the heck am I? I'm not in Navajo County. What the heck am I doing? My gosh. In Santan Valley. And it's here in our county, by the way, just so everybody knows. And our office is putting this on. There's an attempt to incorporate the Santan Valley area. And so one of the things that we felt was to provide factual information to the citizens as to what incorporation is. We have Tom, oh my gosh, I'm really bad today. He is the director for the League of Cities, Arizona League of Cities. And he'll be there, he'll be leading the discussion. And then we also have Mark Schneff from the town of Queen Creek, who was the first mayor, and him and Paul Gardner and a couple of other individuals are the ones that helped drive that incorporation effort over 25 years ago. They'll be moderating and helping with the discussion, talking about the ups and the downs, the pros and the cons for the public. And so hopefully those that can attend, it'll be at the Combs Performing Arts Center off of Germain Road, and it starts at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. In addition to that, I have a segment of What's Up, Chuck? He's become pretty famous, and so if we can shoot that or show them the video, thank you.
We're coming up on Schneff and Ocotillo right now.
We've got a temporary signal at Ocotillo and Schneff right now, and we're working on a design to do the permanent signal. We're working through right-of-way issues with the BLM, which is on the northeast corner right now.
Okay.
So we'll work through that and get that signal complete hopefully in the next year. And now we're on Schneff, north of Ocotillo. So we've got a project coming up for this where we're going to rebuild the existing roadway. The pavement's in pretty bad shape. We understand that. So what we're going to do is come in, rip it up, and repave it. Now it will necessitate a closure of Schneff from Ocotillo to Germain for a couple of weeks. So it'll be just a couple of weeks. We'll go in, we'll tear it up, repave it, and open it back up. We're not going to widen it. We don't have the right-of-way to, but we're going to rebuild the existing road in place.
Now, for many of the people that are out there, that 2-week closure that we're talking about, it's either do it that way or it would take us another year or something along those lines, right?
It would push out the time frame extraordinarily.
Several months.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically what we did on the corner there of Ocotillo and Schneff when we decided to just pull the Band-Aid, shut it down for 4 days, and put those lights in, it proved out to be beneficial for everybody.
It's going to be the same case here. We'll have a 2-week closure, we'll get it done, but if not, it would take probably months to get this all done if we did it in pieces or allowed traffic to run on it while we build it. So this is Kenworthy south of Ocotillo. As part of our Combs and Kenworthy project, we did a few improvements. We added curb on this west side as well as a path. We extended the path from Chandler Heights all the way to Ocotillo. We're approaching the Chandler Heights intersection. So we started the work about a year ago. Our contractor worked on getting the road ready. We built a huge box culvert across the Queen Creek Wash that we'll be driving across.
This is a game changer. You want to get out, we're going to take a shot of this, right?
This is the Queen Creek Wash. It doesn't always run, but when it does, it can run heavily. So we designed a huge box culvert to make sure the road's always open and safe.
Do we have a stop date when this is all going to be done?
So it should be this summer, probably July, we'll have it open.
Really?
As you can see, our contractor's in the curb work, all the concrete work up top. They're getting curb grade ready. We've got some barrier wall that has to go up there.
July.
Yep.
Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.
That means a lot to myself as well as to our citizens. I'll tell you, if they can be kept informed on what's happening, what the future looks like, it gives them an idea of what they can look forward to.
Yeah, exactly, of course. And just to let the public know we're doing everything we can, and we appreciate your patience, and thank you guys.
Good info. You good?
I'm good.
Good, okay, thank you.
I think.
Supervisor McClure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So let's see. Oracle fires. Chuck was talking about it a while ago. Last Tuesday, I was up in Salmon Well for a meeting, and I was a speaker. And as I started to speak, my phone went off. Everybody in the audience went off. So what the heck's going on? Oh, there's a fire in Oracle. I didn't even see it. It was like 30 minutes earlier. I'd just driven through there. So when the meeting was over, went down to Oracle and hung out with the fire crew. And it was fortunately, it was a small fire. It was about less than a mile south of town. But they were preparing to evacuate some homes if the fire had progressed any further. But by 9 o'clock at night, they were able to contain it to 10.5 acres, which is great. The fire district there in Oracle is pretty top notch. And then they had, fortunately, because of the fire season, Department of Forestry and Fire Management has stationed hotshot fire crews all around the county, in preparation for something like this, and they were on scene within maybe an hour and a half, and we had 80 people to put that fire out that night, and that was great. But that was the blessing in disguise. Wednesday, there were at the top of one road, it's a big loop circle just south of Mount Lemmon Highway. A fire was started on forest land, and it wasn't intentional. It was accidental, but it did start. And within about 30 minutes, it had blown down the canyon, better part of half a mile, and people were having to evacuate homes. It was so quick. One lady that I know up there talked to, she was in her home, and the fire crew came, the deputies came and banged on her door and said, "Hey, you need to leave." She says, "Oh, I can go in a minute." No, you have to go now. So she was able to grab about 2 shirts, a couple pair of underwear, some pants, got her 2 dogs, and ran out the door. As she ran out the front door, the fire was coming to the back door. It was that quick. It just came blowing down this canyon. To top it off, the night before, it was mentioned we have a construction project going on there. It's been going on for about 5 months at the bottom of Cody Loop, and the road was dug up probably 20 feet wide, 10 feet deep, to put in 3-foot culvert down through there to bring the water down the hill safely into a retention pond. And that contractor said, "Hey, do I need to come back and fill this hole in?" So, not tonight, we're fine. But at 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, he, of his own volition, came in. And he backfilled part of the ditch to make a 1-lane road. Well, that saved lives. Because the people at the bottom of the hill, there's about 10 homes right there at the bottom, those people could not escape the fire had they not had that roadway, because they would have had to run up into the fire to get out. So he's a pretty cool hero. It was fortunate that no lives were lost. 5 homes were lost, and it's interesting when you drive through there. It looks like Mars with some burnt sticks. It's just absolutely just scorched earth. And the homes that were lost are interesting. The fire crews were able to save some. But anyway, that's been the last few days, and they got that under control. So, kudos to Department of Forestry and Fire Management. Southwest Incident Team came in, the federal group, and took over, and they mopped it up pretty quickly and got it contained. So I think we were out there, Sunday for a meeting, and they were down to the last 5 or 7% of containment, and now they're just mopping it up, shutting it down. So it was, devastating, but fortunately no one was injured. So it'll be quite a while putting it back together. We got calls from people in Saddlebrook Ranch and Saddlebrook that are, 5 to 7 miles, well, not even that, 5 to 7 miles away, and said, "Oh my gosh, what's our evacuation zone? People are being evacuated. You're not in danger. You haven't been evacuated because you're not in danger." Well, how would we know? And we've gone through the process. A couple of years ago, we got TV stations changed for satellite to bring the Tucson stations in rather than the Phoenix stations. That's great. Now we're working on the streaming channels because they're not regulated the same way, and they only get Phoenix stations instead of Tucson stations. But we kept telling them, you need to be signed up to PENS, the Pinal Emergency Notification System. And so we've got quite a few more people involved in that now. And if you're on that, you would get a text, a phone call, an email, say, "Hey, you need to go. Hey, you're under set, orders, tell you where to go, what to do." And that's very important. It's part of our program, and so we're going to run a video on the PENS here.
Okay, great.
My name is Jasmine Castro with Pinal County Public Health and the Office of Emergency Management. The Office of Emergency Management is responsible for preparedness planning. We also respond to disasters and help local jurisdictions when they request assistance. PEN stands for Pinal Emergency Notification System. It's a system that we use to notify the public of any emergencies. When the system is activated, registered users are notified by phone call, text message, email, depending on how they are signed up. To register for PENS, you will go to pinal.gov/PENS. On this page, you will select the Register Here button. You will enter your name, choose your language of how you would like the notifications. You will enter your email, phone number, and if you choose to to opt in for text messages, you make sure that is checked as well. Please make sure to enter your address. This way we can notify you of any emergencies in your area. You will need to create a password. Be sure and check I am not a robot and click the register button. This is optional on your account if you require special assistance in case of an evacuation or you need more information. You can make sure to check any of these options that apply to you. Some of these options include if you are blind or have low vision, if you're deaf or hard of hearing, you have impaired speech or communication disability, any medical devices that you have that require power, if you have oxygen or a pacemaker, or if you're confined to a bed or a wheelchair. In case of an evacuation, you require any of these special assistance, the first responders know what assistance you would need. On your account, you can also add additional locations and label them. So for example, your home, office, or school. And the same goes for phone numbers and email addresses. You can add multiple and label them as well.
This is a message from Pinal Emergency Notification System.
Whatever location is listed on your PENS account is what the notifications will be for. When there's an emergency, we are able to geofence a map area of where the emergency is happening. So down to a street or a house, and those in that specific area of the emergency will be notified via PENS. You are able to personalize your notifications depending on your location. So for example, if you live in an area where wildfires are a concern, you can select the Fire Weather Watch option. If you are in the lower desert and want alerts about floods and dust storm warnings, you can choose those specifically as well. Messages that go out are directly from first responders that come through to the Office of Emergency Management to issue. So these alerts are always very important information that we're trying to communicate. The advantage of having PENS is that if there's an emergency or something very important going on in your area, you're going to be notified right away.
And just one more thing, I would give a shout out to Sheriff Teeple and his deputies. They were instrumental in keeping people out of the fire area. And Sheriff Teeple and my wife and I toured the fire at like 11:30 at night while the fire was still going. Houses burning, trees burning. It was kind of a crazy situation, but very, I don't know, just emotional. So thanks, Ross.
All right, thank you. So District 3, we celebrated Memorial Day in Casa Grande with kind of a soft opening of the Veterans Memorial in Casa Grande. I believe there's a video on it. I can't thank Kevin Johnson enough for taking time on a holiday weekend to come and do some video of it. I want to thank the county attorney for attending. It's very gracious of you to show up there. So I think we have a video ready to go.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We're very excited to share with you our progress, what we've got going on. The whole purpose today is it's Memorial Day weekend, and the purpose of our organization is to remember the men and women from Pinal County that never got to come home.
We're trying to pay tribute to the veterans of Pinal County, the ones that paid the ultimate price. And there's 176, starting with World War I up to through the Iraqi War. Residents of Pinal County killed in action. We think this is a great tribute, and we're very proud of it. It's taken a long time. There is some renderings of what it'll look like at its completion. But it'll be a beautiful place, and it's a place to come and reflect for the loved ones that have passed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I add one more thing? Do you mind?
Sure, go ahead.
Are you finished?
I'm going to have a closing comment, but go ahead.
I also want to thank Public Works too. The people that were without power, that didn't have water out in Rancho Benito area, they mustered up over the weekend and got 2,000-gallon water tankers out there so that people have water to feed their animals and can have water to drink. And they're continuing to fill those during the week or until the power comes back on. So that was.
Yeah, sure. This agenda item that we do monthly or meeting by meetings, I think this one is probably the most diverse. We've seen everything from safety, using the desert, to national issues when we sent Rich to a conference. And I think it just really shows how diverse and how broad the county's responsibilities are and all the different things we do that sometimes don't get really mentioned. I mean, the development of right-of-ways and streets and roads, fighting fires is great. And so I'm happy that we were able to share that with the folks today. So thank you, everyone, for your time and efforts, and staff. Brings us to item number 4, discussion and update of the 25 state and federal legislation session. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to have Dana come up. I think Dana's still here, isn't she? Yeah, there she is. Quit hiding back there. So, because CSA, again, we didn't even have a PLC meeting this last week. But I have a small victory. There was House Bill 2753, which is tied to water and designations. Entities that have a designation will now be required to have replenishment as part of their program as they provide water in the future. That legislation went through last year, and they omitted Pinal County. We fought real hard this year. We got Pinal County added back to that legislation so that it's part of the program. Don't want to get too far into the weeds, but it looks like Arizona Water could become a designation. They're the primary source of water supply in Pinal County, and that would that will now be a requirement if they do become a designation. Replenishment is a very, very important component of our water future. So I was very happy to have the governors sign that bill, and the governor's office actually called me to let me know that it got done. And again, that's a really great victory. I have one more out there trying to get up to the governor. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we'll just keep our fingers crossed. But I want to thank TJ Shope and Martinez, because they really did step up for Representative to help get that across the finish line. And it had bipartisan support from in the House, which was really, really good to see. So anyway, thank you. Now, Dana, you're up. Now that I'm done rambling.
Chairman Miller, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Reporter, to talk about some legislative things going on in our state. Today marks the 136th day of the session. Over 1,800 bills, memorials, and resolutions were introduced. So far, the governor has signed 214 bills and vetoed 139. After taking a 2-week break, the House reconvened on Tuesday and announced that they're taking another 2-week break. Today they are there, and I believe they will be reviewing department director positions. There aren't a lot of bills left to vote on, but this is, as we go into the budget, we see where items get brought back to life. So we'll be watching that. We do believe in in the June standpoint, they do have to have a budget by June 30th, that I'll be able to provide more conclusive information in regards to who got what this legislative session. Some things to talk about when we talk about legislation, because we always have to be forward thinking. We have to have bill language or our wish list to our ACO representation by August 1st. So what does that mean for county officials? That in June, you should be meeting with your association heads, us for the Recorders Association or the election directors of Arizona, talking about for us things in Title 16, Title 9, and 19 that need some cleanup, and especially Title 48, the special taxing districts. Some of the bills on the books from Title 48 are over 90 years old and quite antiquated. So we hope to be taking that on this next legislative session. So we'll be working with some of the special taxing districts and their points of contact to bring some things forward. We've learned that being proactive in these events means that we don't have to be reactive. And I do believe that Assessor Wolf wanted to say something.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I want to tag into Dana's report on legislation. Report two things that are bad news for property owners in Pinal County and in Arizona. The assessors, on a bipartisan agreement and in the legislature, passed a bill called SB 1312. It was sent to the governor's office. The purpose of the bill was to raise property fraud, title fraud, from a misdemeanor to a felony as a way of punishing and raising the ante for people trying to steal people's homes. And it give an opportunity to our county attorney, and Mr. Miller, who and I have talked about this, of going after people who actually do this, because it's easier to prosecute a felony, it's more worthwhile. However, it got to the governor's desk, and for some inexplicable reason, even in her veto message, she vetoed it and said it wasn't the correct solution for the problem. Now, this was a bipartisan bill. This was not Democrat or Republican. This had nothing to do with partisan voting. And so I guess we're going to have to either try next year or maybe wait till 2026 if we have a different governor who will actually sign something that is common sense legislation for the taxpayers, property owners in the county. Second thing that happened the last month is the Supreme Court of Arizona said if you have a fraudulent title, someone has frauded your title, and you don't catch it for 5 years yourself, the property owner, after 5 years, that person who did the fraud can actually take title to your property. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen as far as my years in real estate and in the assessor's business. There's some nuance to the law, but basically it's up to the citizen to make sure they've got clear title and that someone hasn't frauded. And in that respect, one of our larger counties started to go back and do some audits of transfers in the assessor's office and found about a dozen frauded property titles that had been recorded that were just waiting in the weeds for the 5 years to elapse, hoping that at some point down the road they could steal the property. So that's the news from the assessor's standpoint. As I said, we'll try to run stuff next year, but I want everybody to know that their property is still at risk, and the governor decided that was okay. Thank you. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Dana, did you have anything else? Well, you're up next. On item number 5, you're going to talk about the recorders and elections, I believe.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Recorder, and Officer in Charge of Elections. The presentation that you're about to see has been submitted to the clerk of the board. Our monthly update. Voter registration statistics. We are currently out about 310,000 registered voters in Pinal County. This number does include active and inactive numbers. You'll see that there is a disparity here between the Board of Supervisors in each one of their districts and then, of course, the cities and towns. Again, that shows the cities and towns. It does not show the unincorporated areas that do fall under your purview. Changes in registering records. Everybody likes their graphs. Want to bring it to attention. There was an upbeat in party not designated, other or independent voters. Again, independence is not a party. It is a version of a non-party. Green and no labels have had a tick up. Republicans did see a slight decrease in registrations, and Dems saw an increase as well. You're going to see this beautiful little table about registration numbers since 2016. As we continue to move forward, you're going to see the end of this graph. It looks a little bit more jagged. Historically, we were only capturing these numbers after a major election, and then on a quarterly basis, then a monthly. Now we're actually really diving in there as we continue to grow and have formidable staff and are able to actually look at these at a daily measure. Again, the party status submissions were through the month of April. We tracked the various parties. We've had several members of the community ask us to please put these graphs that we present to the Board of Supervisors on our website, and we have started doing that. And again, about 2024 forward, we will be tracking monthly to be able to give you more individualized reports for your districts. Party chairpersons, I spoke about this last session or last meeting. Again, Kirk, Jennifer, and Jesse are the party chairpersons. I want to send a special thank you to them. Going into any major election, we're required to have something called special election board workers. These are people that are identified and appointed by their board, by their party, and these are the people that go to the assisted living facilities, to the hospitals, people who are confined in jail but aren't felons. We need these bipartisan teams to accomplish this task. And so we're lucky that they met our deadlines, and we have a list of people to utilize to go out and service these people who are considered confined as voters. The CD7 special primary election will be held in 4 precincts, 38, 53, 67, and 91. It's approximately 4,000 voters, but does affect about 1 million in the state. Proofs went to the stakeholders, which are candidates and party chairs, May 6th. The special primary election ballots were ordered going into our UOCAVA deadline. Our internal logic and accuracy test will start next week, and the Secretary of State's LNA will be about 11:10 to noonish on the 12th. They fly in from other counties, so we're kind of, in a holding pattern for that. Both of these tests are open to the public for observation. If anybody has questions about what it means to be a central tabulation facility, this is one of those great opportunities to understand how our tech works and what our tabulation machines do. For early voting in CD7, it'll be held at the Votes facility here in Florence, the Maricopa Satellite Office, and the Casa Grande Satellite Office. Poll worker training is scheduled for June 21st and 28th. We chose to do Saturdays so we could capture a larger group and dive into our new skinny manual and hands-on in-person training. Polling locations will be open on July 5th from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. like any normal election. And for future planners, please remember that the CD7 special general election is September 23rd. Again, voter registration deadline is 29 days before that election, and early voting will start 27 days prior to the election. Love these beautiful little Canva prints that our team has created. Again, snapshots that can also be found on the Pinal County Elections and Pinal Votes website. These are important notices that have gone out to voters in the CD7 election. These are the 90-day notices. These are not ballots. These are your ability to tell me, as a voter, if you are not going to be here or if there has been a change in your voter registration. You are able to utilize this card because it meets all the requirements for us to update your voter registration. It also gives us the ability, if you are not going to be here, for us to send your ballot one time somewhere else that is stateside. Or if you don't want to participate in this election, you can save the taxpayers $4 a ballot by opting out of this election if you choose to. Some things different. This is a special primary election. This is a partisan election. So in the event that you are a party not designated, other, or an independent voter, you have the ability to request or pick a party. So that's the PAP, pick a party. Or if you have a party, it's going to let you know that that party-style ballot will arrive for you. We can never tell when someone's last day is going to be, and we did not know that we were going to lose Congressman Grijalva. And so some people who maybe snowbird or have been away or aren't paying attention to elections every minute of every day like I do, they might not know this is happening. And so we felt in the best interest of voters who aren't signed up for early voting to know that this was going to occur. Again, give them some information about where they can find their polling locations, why this is occurring, and where they can reach out if they require additional information. Documented proof of citizenship. This continues to plague our state. In the event that people don't understand it, it's one of those nuances in Arizona law that some people don't understand, especially if you've come here from another state that doesn't require this. There was an additional nuance to this last September when they discovered a glitch in the MVD system. So one of the things I can do to help voters is, again, to over-communicate to them the need for them, if they have received one of the letters saying that they are unregistered pending documented proof of citizenship, they just need to provide a travel ID, a vital records issued birth certificate, passport. If they have a tribal certificate or tribal ID, please email it to us or stop by one of our offices to present this. This is a situation that, again, is across the state of Arizona. It was just not Pinal County voters. It was, one of those things that happened, and it has caused some confusion. We had requested with our legislators to create some legislation that did not get out the door. So recently, this county, myself, working with the board and county attorney's office, we submitted a letter to the attorney general's office requesting an opinion about what to do with the MVD glitch voters. I think for the best interest of voters in Pinal County, for them to know that they have until 7 p.m. on election day to provide documented proof of citizenship, I would rather people to be in the know and be able to acquire their required documentation than show up at 6:45 on election day and not know that they were affected because they didn't check their mail. Re-precincting is a conversation that we've been having since about March in Pinal County because of the growth of the county. We've completed 3 rounds of informational gathering settings with the public, some at the votes facility and some at town halls. A majority of the suggestions that we have received from members of the community have been about naming conventions or where we are cutting lines, or if they might know of a facility that we could utilize as a voting location. We have been compiling that. We will also attend the town hall tomorrow with Mr. Goodman to be able to explain these processes for re-precincting. And then we will provide the updated presentations to the Board of Supervisors in July, and hopes to have this on the agenda for approval September 17th. If the Board of Supervisors does approve re-precincting, it must be done before October 1st of an odd year so that we can be ready and prepared for voters and communications going into a federal election year. The request to incorporate Santan Valley, we spoke about this last meeting. We were approached October 30th in regards to this. We presented it to the Board of Supervisors. We informed the committee how many signatures at that point, because it is a moving target, signatures they needed to qualify. On April 22nd, they filed over 10,000 petitions. 324 of those were rejected. Then we sent them for signature verification, where another 142 were rejected. What happens now is you take this, you apply a formula, and that formula moves forward, and they did qualify for the August 5th ballot. Proofs have been sent to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors, county party chairs, and the incorporation committee yesterday. We have, in approximately 10 days, we will be working with our vendor to get ballots for the polling locations and early voting. Logic and accuracy testing, because this is not a statewide or federal election, it is a county election, will be held June 27th. Again, this is open to the public. Early voting in Santan Valley Incorporation election will begin on July 9th. It will be held at the votes facility, the Apache Junction satellite office, and the Santan Valley satellite office. Precinct-based polling locations will be open on August 5th from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Member of the public asked for some of the precincts in Santan Valley, trying to understand all of our pretty graphs. I don't know why it does that sometimes. And so these are the precincts in Santan Valley, and you can see from 2016 to 2025 what the growth is. I believe that this was an appropriate place to put this graph. Other election things going on in our world. We've been talking about the need for a software solution for poll workers, training, and then campaign finance. We're in the last leg of that process. It went to procurement and has the blessing of IT to move forward. Soon, I believe it's in the next 30 days, this will go out on the bonfire portal for vendors to then approach and compete for this contract. We have been working with our website. We noticed that it was a little bit janky, and now if you go to the Votes and Elections website, we do believe that is a bit more mobile friendly. Polling place tours have been accomplished to ensure ADA compliance. Some of the facilities that we use in Pinal County are a little bit dated, and so we need to make sure that they have 30-inch wide doorways for wheelchairs, that they have wheelchair ramps, and that there are kitchen and bathroom facilities. So ensuring that the CD7 elections and Santan Valley elections will be good to go. We took on those polling locations first, but ahead of schedule going into 2026 to ensure that we will have appropriate locations for our 2026 elections. If anybody entered through the foyer, you will notice that there are cool green machines. These are the new e-poll books from No Ink. Several sessions ago, the Board of Supervisors approved the RFP to No Ink, and we have brought on about 250 of these e-poll books. Historically, counties that are precinct-based would use a printed poll roster. It would be dated and stale. Now, with the use of e-poll books, we have the information is updated the Friday before these poll books go out. So we have good, clean information on our voter rolls and whoever has voted early in person. Our standard operating procedures, we're in 39 chapters, and we are at what we call page turners. This is a huge accomplishment for this department. In the past, one of the things that was a pain point was not having really great standard operating procedures. We deep dove into this, and I am proud that Yasmin Alvarado, one of our special election specialists, has really taken to this with fervor and done some amazing things with this. We are still doing EPM updates with the Secretary of State's office. On Tuesday, we will receive our final 3 chapters. In my opinion, these are the hardest 3 chapters. They are 1, 2, and 3, which are all of the chapters regarding voter registration and documented proof of citizenship. We did the poll worker training update, going to the skinny manual and a lot of hands-on. We will be approaching the Board of Supervisors here in the future in regards to a fee schedule update. It doesn't read well. It's very difficult for some of our jurisdictions that have to enter into an IGA with us to maneuver. We can do better, and we're going to do better. We're also met with Protivity last week and met with them to close that loop from the 2022 election. I'll be happy to say that I think we did well. They told me they don't give gold stars, but I'm pretty sure your team got one. Some other things to identify. In June, we are a busy bunch of election workers. We will attend the Election Officials of Arizona conference. At that conference, we will be working with a company called Enhanced Voting to understand the new UOCAVA system that the Secretary of State's office plans to bring on board. There are some nuances to this that we are interested in understanding, and then I plan to report in July to you what that looked like in person. We will also begin for our new election specialists. They will attend election officer certification. Arizona is one of the few states in this nation that requires that election specialists be certified, and we will be doing that in June. And then, June 19th, we will have the first ever tabletop and in-person exercise of election people in Pinal County. The Office of Emergency Management was, again, forward-thinking and went out and got a grant. Election people can't get grants, but OEM can. And they got one, and they've been working with some vendors to bring on the first ever at our votes facility exercise, where in real time we will work with our partners, the threat liaison officers, our fire marshals, our city police department, the Board of Supervisors, county management, and go through with our team who actually does the process and test the resiliency. You can have a coup plan, but if you don't know how it works or how to put it in action, it's really not effective. We're going to test it June 19th, gentlemen. Shout out to Monique Carter. She was appointed to be the early voting supervisor for Pinal County. Early voting is part of the biggest lift in elections. We have 300,000 registrants, and almost 200,000 of them receive an early ballot by mail. Those early ballots will all come through the early voting department, and Monique is the supervisor for that department now. And also appreciate Casey Chavez, who is now the new Deputy Recording Clerk Supervisor at the Maricopa Satellite Office. It takes a team to do this, and I think recognizing some of the great people who do the work in this county is important. Apache Junction and Santan Valley are growing fast, and we're meeting with facilities this afternoon and next week because we need more space in your space. Thank you, Chairman Miller, for always allowing me to use your conference room, but we know that it's becoming burdensome, so we're going to look at alternates. And another shout out to Mr. Burgett. Mr. Burgett has worked with the elections department in our IT section for I think it's over 12 years. I know that I've worked with him for 7. He even brought on his family to help with the receiving board through many elections. Thank you, gentlemen. I will stand for questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I got a quick question. Your TTX, I can't remember but I know what that is. But those are interesting to go to because of the scenarios that are put forth. And, like Mike Tyson said, you got to plan until you get hit in the mouth and you don't know what happened. And this is one of those. And it's very interesting. I did have a question back to probably your second slide. You don't have to go back there. But it was on the P&Ds and the uptick in P&Ds. Have you seen a uptick in P&Ds in the last couple of months? Because with the Real ID coming in and people going in and getting new driver's licenses, a lot of times they forget to check Republican, Democrat, whatever at the bottom, and so then they get put on the P&D list and don't have any idea till they go to vote. Then, oh yeah, you're not here. Have you seen that uptick because of that?
Absolutely, Chairman Miller, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board. That has been a thing. Also, with P&Ds increasing, it usually happens after a general election. People play party politics during the primary and general, and then they decide they don't want the mailers, so they put themselves back as a P&D. We have noticed an uptick with P&D independents. Can I attribute it to the Real ID? There was that May 7th deadline, and we have seen voter registration numbers go up. One of the things I will tell people, if you are in the works of getting that Real ID and they ask if you want to update your voter registration, say yes. Because if you don't say yes, it doesn't come through the portal. And if you've then captured your documented proof of citizenship, you've saved us. So please say yes. Another thing is you're going to get them typing in all of this information, and they're going to flip a screen around. You're going to have information, and you might not look at all of those little boxes. Make sure you review that they are checking the box if you want to receive that early ballot by mail, or if you want to be either a Republican, Democrat, or a P&D voter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Good job. Dana, you said you wanted to make it boring. I don't know that that was boring. It was lengthy. I know that. Anyway, well, thank you, though.
busy.
A lot
Thank
of
you,
great
gentlemen.
information
Thank
there,
you.
so thank you for the concise report. Item number 6, Purchasing Division Report. Ms. Woods.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, members of the board. Angie Woods, the Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. I have today's Purchasing Division Report for May 28th. In the report, the board is requested to approve 2 contract awards. One is RFP 252030 for inmate commissary and banking services. The second is RFP 252530 for detention food services. The report contains 1 purchase order change requiring your approval. And lastly, we are seeking approval of 1 cooperative purchase requisition over the amount of $250,000. Are there any questions?
Any questions on the finance report? Board's pleasure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Purchasing Division Report dated May 28, 2025.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to the consent items today. I believe I have a request from Supervisor Surtee to remove D. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other board member have anything to remove or want removed? Hearing seeing none. County Manager's Office. Anybody from the public want to have something removed? Item AG, please. AG? Okay.
What was
Anybody else?
Mr. Surtees? Which one? What did you?
D.
D is in dog. Okay.
D.
Thank you.
Does that really have to come off, or can we just approve him without him here? I'm not.
I don't know.
He's not in attendance, so we don't have to pull it.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, he's just not.
Oh, you were
here.
going to recognize somebody that's being
Yeah.
appointed.
So
Okay.
it can.
Okay, so D is back on. Okay, so it's just AG, I believe. So far. What is it?
Consent item U as in United.
U, okay. Anyone else from the audience? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Can I get a motion on the consent items?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve consent items A through AM minus item U and AG.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
say nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Item U. Get to that page. Whose item is that? Celeste or Joe Ortiz? Are either one of you here? Or both of you? So, yeah, Mr. Revelis, do you have a specific question? Or do you want to, on item U? Go ahead and come up and let me hear what your specific question is so we can address it.
Yes, item U. Mr. Chairman, this past week I drove up Peralta Road, and there's a sign posted that it is a primitive road, 10-mile-per-hour speed limit, and I can report that it is a washerboard surface, and 10 miles is actually too darn fast even for that. My question is, will this item U permit the upgrading of that Peralta Road, which incidentally, I'd like to compliment the construction of ditches that have effectively prevented off-road RVs going off of the Peralta Road. there was not a single RV visible this past week. So my question is, though, will this provide for upgrading that washerboard effect of the road?
Okay, thank you. Well, let's ask staff if what we might anticipate happening here.
Good afternoon, Board. George East, Development Services Managing Director. Yes, this is part of our overall efforts to make roadway improvements along Peralta. So this is the first step to acquiring some of that right-of-way that's out there that's needed.
This more or less gives us permission.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Board's pleasure on item U.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item U as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Now, is it AG? Yeah.
Noel Reck from Eloy. The AmeriCorps program was recently honored by the board as a very valuable asset that it is to the county. I'm wondering why the award has been decreased and to what extent, and does this have anything to do with the DOGE cuts?
Okay. Do we have anyone here that can respond to that? Okay. Thank you.
Chairman Miller, Board of Supervisors. I'm Kelly Bull. I'm here on the behalf of the adult probation. We get the AmeriCorps award is awarded to our department. We did get a reduction. It is part of DOGE, but the other part is we haven't had very many interns, recruitments for this program. So they reduced our amount down to the $15,211.
So they match it up to the number of applicants that
That's correct.
want to participate? Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
Is that sufficient?
Quick question.
Question? Sure.
Quick question. Yeah, we don't care. Just quick.
From the audience, please.
Just a quick question. So these are reimbursement grants, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not spending the money. They're not paying us the money. That's what this is.
That is correct. We
Okay.
submit a bill once a month, and then they reimburse us for
Correct.
those wages. and
Which relates to the down to, okay, thank you.
But can I add to that?
Yeah, sure.
It sounds to me like the reduction is in correlation directly with the amount of individuals that are actually working the program. Is that correct?
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if DOGE is
Okay.
involved or not. So,
Yeah, but it's financially, it's trying to be financially sound. It sounds like so.
That is correct.
Appreciate it.
Per applicant is what it sounds like.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have 2 new ones starting in, I think, a week. So,
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
thank you.
Board's pleasure on item AG.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item AG as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. I'm going to move us to item 8, call to the public. So, call to the public is a time and period for the members of the public to address the Board of Supervisors to provide public input relating to subjects, matters within the Board of Supervisors' authority and jurisdiction. Those wishing to address the Board of Supervisors need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study matters or reschedule it in a further consideration and decision at a later date. So, let's see here. I have Jerry Revert, Jerry, Jerry. There you are. Help me with that last name.
Last name is Ravert.
Ravert.
And I am Jerry Ravert. I live at 220 East Ruggles, which is a historic property in the town of Florence. I've been in town
Florence since 1983. I'm speaking today as an individual, but my experiences with the town of Florence historic properties goes back to that point. I was a park manager at McFarland State Park. I served on the Historic District Advisory Commission, and also at one time I was on the Pinal County Development Board. I want to compliment the county on the good job that they did restoring this courthouse. It's something that we all can be proud of. In the years that I was here, I've seen a lot of changes in the town of Florence under the guise of improvements and things that needed to be done. Though these changes are not really consistent with historic preservation ideals and goals, all of them are reversible. But I'm afraid the construction of a 5-story building next to the historic courthouse is not really compatible with the goals of a historic property. Now, I don't doubt that the county has every right to build a large building, but what I would ask, and it's not just me, there's the town of Florence, I know, has been involved with some of this planning for this large-scale project, and we also have a group of citizens that are putting together petitions that would not be favorable to a tall building like that in the historic district. What I would ask the board to do is to consider alternatives. Maybe smaller buildings around the courthouse, maybe relocating this 5-story building, if that's what has to be built, someplace away from the historic district. I'm kind of aware the county has some property just on the other side of the highway. We have a petition being circulated now which suggests, I'm talking about Highway 79, suggests purchasing property on the west side of 79. It's my time's up, so I think, in summary, just real quick, I'd like the Board of Supervisors, shut up. 30-foot limitation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Barry McCain.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Barry McCain from Maricopa, City of Maricopa, where I learned how to walk. We must begin to work together as Americans and do what we can to continue this country and stop this political polarization. I feel that, yeah, it was rough for Memorial Day because I almost died 3 times for my country. But when I see people doing things, they're not working together as Americans, I'm very concerned. I've watched here since, I've been here since 2012, and I've watched, wow, the same thing I saw in City of Maricopa, City Council. Same problem. It's like we have a coup. We have a cabal we don't need. And I have to say, I will stand up for the county attorney any day. We're both veterans. We've both been trained highly. And to see the same thing here, this is going to stop everything for Pinal County. And I sit there, now, a cabal is a Class 1 felony. Now, I've always been known for being passionate, but I'm sorry, Supervisor McClure, you went through what you did. Really do. I've been through that before. But we're going to have to work together now. And if we're not going to start doing that, and I got to live some grandstanding going on, what we have at the Capitol is really messed up. That's why I'm there, because I don't deal with harassment. But as far as competition, I know more about competition you'll ever know. But anyway, we need to work together. Thank you.
Arlen Trout.
Good morning. I'm Arlen Trout from Gold Canyon. And on January 13th, 2025, Judge McCarville held Pinal County in contempt for aiding and abetting willful and malicious violations of court orders by local land developers. Your co-defendant, Kenneth Russell, still brags about the power of his church and his great influence over Pinal County officials. You paid his $30,000 sanctions for him. Jeff Surtee, Kenneth Volkmer, and Tom Van Doren were warned in September of 2023 about Russell's scheme. Instead of intervening, you used public funds to hire private attorneys that concealed these crimes before the 2024 elections. These funds were used to protect criminals who lied to police and the court, filed forged documents, physically assaulted my family and neighbors, and violated court rulings and orders in a scheme to steal property. Sherry Leckrone, calling me a nonsensical liar with no evidence, is also calling Judge Stephen McCarville a liar. His patience is wearing thin, with more sanctions and lawsuits on the way. The use of public funds to defend criminals is a serious matter. This ongoing scheme of misclassifying criminal acts as civil disputes is jurisdictional fraud. Is this a coordinated effort to obstruct justice, protect private developers and officials, and prevent prosecutions? I call on Brad Miller and Steve Miller to clarify and explain your conflict of interest with me and the court's recent rulings and sanctions against you. Arlen Trout, please respond. Please respond. Thank you. Thank all of you.
Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to comment at the public comment period?
Roberto Reveles, resident of Gold Canyon, and I respectfully approach, especially with sensitive topics being called to the public's attention, and one of the visible provocations was on display by our elected county assessor wearing a red hat urging Trump 2028. Apparently disrespecting the Constitution's prohibition of any more than 2 presidential term limits. But, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I respectfully recall that last fall, while presiding as board president or board chairman, Mr. Goodman, despite twice being cautioned by legal counsel, violated the chairman's neutrality and impartiality by openly expressing his personal opinion, enthusiastically endorsing presidential candidate Donald Trump, saying he did so on behalf of himself and members of the LDS Church. Now, 5 months later, Mr. Goodman is no longer restrained as chairman. Therefore, I ask Mr. Goodman, do you and your LDS members endorse Trump's actions, freezing federal funds to Arizona, putting in jeopardy reduced funding for Pinal County, and incidentally, for your proposed new Santan Valley municipality? Do you support Trump's big, beautiful bill that threatens funds affecting Arizona's health care, housing, education, parks, water resources, wildfire assistance, solar power, electric vehicle production, while increasing funding for inhumane detention, separation, and deportation of our area's immigrant families who are indisputably valuable contributors to our economy, culture, and even our religious community? Most importantly, Mr. Goodman, what are you doing to counter any of these Trump constitutionally questionable actions affecting our county? I respectfully challenge you address these destructive public actions by your endorsed candidate. Ensure you have reasonable time to respond thoughtfully and perhaps reconsider your endorsement. I suggest that you today place discussion of these destructive Trump policies on the board's agenda for the next regular meeting. Constructive discussion to find ways of ensuring Arizona moves forward to create a prospering, hospitable, and more moral environment in which to do business and raise families. Words and endorsements have consequences and demand accountability. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to address the board?
Noel Ruck from Eloy. I hope everyone had a meaningful Memorial Day. It was for me. My thoughts focused on all those who have passed on, but this year particularly on my dad. The son of Italian immigrants who grew up in the coal camp of Bon Carbo, about 15 miles outside of Trinidad, Colorado. At 7, he lost his mother to brain cancer, and then at 11, his father. The stressors of the mind, the loss of his wife, and the Great Depression causing him to take his own life. From there, he was raised by his older sister, herself only a teenager, and her older husband, a minor who would fall victim to black lung disease. Despite the adversities, successes were achieved. He was a state champion in the mile run, all 5'8" of him. He couldn't practice after school because he'd missed the bus, and 15 miles was a long way home. So a month before track season started, the bus driver would drop him off a mile away from school in the morning, and he'd run the rest of the way. Likewise, after school, he'd get dropped off a mile away from Bon Carbo and run the rest of the way home. The distance increased every week until it was 3 miles each way at the start of the season, every day until the state meet. He had dreams of competing collegiately, but World War II called on him, and he served the country with honor and distinction in both the European and Pacific theaters. After the war with the GI Bill, he graduated from the University of Denver, started our family, and built a successful business career. He wasn't large in stature, but he was a man's man. Throughout the weekend, I thought about what he would say regarding the state of our country, particularly those things related to his own life experiences, such as the treatment of migrants without due process sent to prisons overseas, some arrested as they attempted to follow the rules of asylum based on skin color, knee-jerk reactions to the DEI boogeyman, universities defunded for allowing free speech, funding canceled for cancer research and new treatments, healthcare taken away from millions of Americans, including mental health treatment, increasing dangerous silica dust exposure levels for coal miners and thus increased black lung disease, veterans losing their jobs and benefits, unhinged speeches at West Point and Arlington from a man ignoring their common oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, an upcoming North Korean-style military/birthday parade, the world's economy is being played with through tariffs like some sort of toy, the House and likely a caving Senate that's soon to pass the destructive big beautiful bill, etc. I know what his feelings would be, complete disgust with the corrupt, increasingly fascist government becoming similar to those he fought against during World War II. I can't talk to him about my concerns, but I can talk to you. I call you by name, not out of ill intent, but to follow the rules, allowing you to respond to my questions. Supervisors Vitiello, McClure, Miller, and Goodman, what information can you provide about Trump's actions, the now stated provisions of the big beautiful bill, and the impact they're having and will have on the county? What will the county do to counter these impacts? And if these questions still can't be answered now, when? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience that wants to speak? Call to the public. Any I see none. My response to anything will come through the county attorney's office. Mr. Goodman, you were...
I was called out on purpose, so...
Called out, so...
Yeah, just a couple of things. Number one, that was pretty loaded questions. So, and I remember the last meeting that we had, I was asked to respond back to some questions. I never received an email, but instead chose to do what I call grandstanding, standing before here in the public with those accusations. And that's what they are. They're untruthful. Never did I state that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints endorsed Donald Trump. Never did I ever say that. Okay? Number one. Number two, as I look at, I'll evaluate that and I'll respond, but we'll do it personally, you and me. But if you want to bring it up in the public, you can do that. I'm okay with that. Number two, I didn't know that a hat would be so offensive from one of our political individuals. But going back to what Mr. McCain said earlier in regards to working together, you know, this rhetoric's got to stop. I agree with him 100%. If we have issues and problems, I'm a proponent of sitting down, looking eyeball to eyeball, and having a discussion, an open discussion, which is something that should take place in this country in the first place. And that we're going to have disagreements. I totally get that. But we need to first understand before we try to be understood. And I've never had that kind of dialogue with anybody that's come in here and made comments to me or anybody else. I don't know of anybody else in here other than Supervisor Miller has had open conversations with some of you in the public that have not disagreed with what he's done. And so I invite that. As far as I'm going to follow the example of what Supervisor Miller just stated, a lot of our responses will be working with you, our county attorney's office, to correlate so that, you know, I'm not in violation or anything in that nature, okay? And so that's pretty much what I have to say, and thank you.
Okay. I think that's it. We're all good? Okay, thank you. Moves us to item number 9 on the agenda. 2-minute recess.
His water went through.
I'm going to give us a 5-minute recess. We're on item 9. Everybody agree with that? Discussion, approval, or disapproval of resolution 052825-AQ. Remove the emergency affirmative defense provision in Chapter 3. Who's presenting here? There we go.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, members of the board. Rupesh Patel, Pinal County Air Quality Planning Manager. What you have in front of you today is Resolution 052825-AQ to remove the affirmative defence provisions of Chapter 3, Article 1, Section 081, and in Pinal County Air Quality District Code of Regulations. These affirmative defence provisions have been part of our original rules since it was adopted, and we are seeking to remove those based on EPA's interpretation of the enforcement structure in the Clean Air Act. EPA has found that these affirmative defence provisions are to be rescinded from our existing permits and our regulations, and this provision was presented to you in the work session meeting earlier this month.
Any questions? Sorry. Any questions? Ms. Patel at this time? Okay. The board's pleasure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 9 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Brings us to item number 10. It does have a public hearing component to it, but we will hear the presentation first before I open the public hearing.
Good afternoon again, Chairman. Celeste Garza, Deputy Director of Public Works, here on behalf of item 10, which is a small square abandonment piece on Bella Vista Road. I'm gonna turn to the photos here because it will be easier to see.
Is that right in front of Goodman's office? Just
Right, I need a parking space.
So the Champion School property that's located near the intersection of Bella Vista and Gounsell Road located their variable message board sign in some of the Bella Vista Road right-of-way. They are in fear that one day we may widen that roadway and force them to move their sign. However, ultimate configuration of Bella Vista in this section is 5 lanes at the moment, and potentially for the future. We see the development happening mostly east of Gounsell, but just in hopes, that we would never want it relocated. They wanted that little square abandoned where their sign is located. Here's a picture of the sign itself. And the road was all reconfigured and widened in around the 2014, 2013 timeframe. That sign came after the widening the school developed. Let me go back to this just real quick. So the easement itself is, 6 feet by 8 feet of what we'll be abandoning. Obviously, there's no legal access or any utilities located in that small section that we verified. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So the road is 5 lanes wide now, and there's no future plan to widen it to, say, 7 lanes?
Not at the moment. The right-of-way that exists today only provides for the 5-lane facility on both sides. So I believe it's 110 feet.
And there's probably no room to the west of that to widen it, is there? It doesn't look like it in this picture. There's a funny little triangle-y thing there.
Very little.
The development that exists.
Yes.
Yeah, west of Stardust.
West.
No, we would be into irrigation canals, people's backyards, and some of those sections. So the widening of a future 7-lane wouldn't likely happen west of Stardust.
Okay.
You can see in the photos that there's travel lanes as well as a dedicated right turn lane in that facility. So there's 2 through lanes, a center turn, 2-way left turn lane, and then this dedicated right-hand turn lane for the school.
Okay, thank you.
You'd have to relocate all those power poles.
Yeah.
as well.
It's a challenge.
That would be okay. Any questions? Okay, let me open up the public hearing portion of this meeting. Anybody from the public want to respond to item number 10? Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Board's pleasure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 10 that's presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. We're going to flip the order of these. We're going to take number 12 first. So it does have a public hearing component, but we'll hear the presentation first and then open up the public hearing.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Patrick Zay Roberts, Senior Planner, here presenting case item 12, SUP 00723. This is a proposal for a special use permit to allow a commercial kennel on a property in the SR Suburban Ranch Zoning District. The property in question is 3.3 acres and is located at 49641 West Jean Drive, Maricopa, zip code 85139. on parcel 510630100. The applicant for this case is Rennell Abbott and Jason Sanks, and the property is located in Supervisor District 1. This is a map showing the approximate location of the site in question. A zoning map showing the surrounding SR properties on north, south, and west of the property. An additional SR property to the east, followed by GR properties in CR2 PAD zoning to the east. This is a vicinity map showing the approximate location of surrounding zoning districts, residential units, and farmland. An aerial map looking down on the site. And the notification area for affected neighbors within proximity to the site. This is an image looking north away from the property, south towards the property, east down Jean Drive, and west also down Jean Drive. So staff had prepared this slide as a means of discussing the applicability of the SUP ordinance to the request for this particular zoning category. The SR zoning in question accommodates other commercial agriculture uses that staff has mentioned has been compatible with the proposed use. Additionally, the special use permit clause allows for allowance of additional uses that are proposed under zoning districts for SR. And those SUP development standards indicate the issuance of an SUP does not relieve the applicant from obtaining site plan approval, building permit, or any other permit or approval required by any other applicable law, and that the SUP authorizes the use to be developed in a particular way as specified by the permit and its conditions. This is a site plan showing the current layout of the kennels, of the kennel site, excuse me. As you can see, the axis is oriented north with a kennel structure to the east of the property and the residence to the south.
Where's the kennel on this map?
I'm sorry, it's on the bottom of the page there, oriented east, about a third of the way down from the north property line.
Okay.
I believe that's indicating 38 feet, 36 or 38 feet, I'm sorry, the image is a little blurry, from the east property line. So some items for consideration. The property is one of 5 similar existing commercial kennels proposed before the Planning and Zoning Commission for an SUP action during the January 18th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The property is located amongst other properties with rural and agricultural uses and animal husbandry operations. The commercial kennel use is existing and does not present impact to public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed SUP is compliant with standards of the SR zoning district. The SUP approval shall make compatible the existing use with surrounding land uses. The property features improvements to accommodate the kennel use existing. The property has been operating for 9 years, and no proposed changes are indicated. And the applicant was proactive in seeking to resolve code compliance violations of the property as they occurred. The applicant identified a business niche and an articulable need in their community. And so these numbers have changed, but staff has received, at this point, 9 letters of support and 37 letters of opposition for this case. Ultimately, the content of those opposition letters is largely the same as those provided in the slides. An increase of noise and nuisances, instances of escaped dogs at large, that such businesses should require a 5-acre minimum lot size, that the property violates terms of a Pinal County Animal Control Kennel Permit, that the business use would increase traffic in the neighborhood and on the neighbor's property, and that property values would be diminished. Additionally, there's a potential violation of the property's CC&Rs, concern of indirect ownership relation to the applicant as a business owner, which was largely addressed. Ultimately, the trust names the current applicant as an owner party. Concern that the business was operating on the Gene Drive property when originally only allowed on the Val Vista property. A desire to see the Gene Drive property not operate as a kennel without impacting the business on the Val Vista Road property. And inclusion of a permit of a petition of, and this number has changed as well, 30 neighbors in opposition to the special use permit. On March 20th, following a public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 9-1 of case SCP-00723 with 12 stipulations. Following the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant and staff further discussed applicability and recommended stipulations and met to further discuss the development aspects with a concerned neighbor. As such, staff has proposed removal of stipulations number 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And staff recommends amendment of stipulation number 2 and addition of 7 new stipulations specifically addressing the neighbor's concerns. And these are indicated as new stipulations 4 through 10. The new stipulations have been reviewed with the applicant's representative, and they are in general agreement with the revised stipulations.
Do we have copies of that?
You do, and also I can read into the record the 10 current stipulations.
Okay, I'd suggest that.
Stipulation 1, the special use permit is issued to the land and shall be binding on the property owner from date of the Board of Supervisors approval. 2, approval of the special use permit, SUP, will require that the applicant, owner, developer submit and secure from the applicable and appropriate federal, state, county, and local regulatory agencies all required applications, plans, permits, supporting documentation, and approvals necessary for its operation. 3, signs on the site shall not be permitted. 4, the number of adult dogs for breeding purposes allowed on the property shall be limited to 7 at any time. 5, a 7-foot-high metal and wood fence, as depicted in the attached picture of the existing fence, shall be constructed by the property owner in accordance with any building setback standards in the Pinal County Development Services Code and completed within 4 months of the approval of the SUP along the property line abutting their neighbor's property at 12330 North White Road. 6, all dogs on the property shall be housed and maintained inside kennels by 9 p.m. on a daily basis. 7, the applicant shall take appropriate and necessary measures to mitigate any excessive barking, such as use of bark collars, use of insulation or other materials to reduce the level of sound from kennels, so as to avoid disturbing the peace and quiet of another person with excessive barking without cause, i.e., no outside animal intrusion onto the property. Excessive barking shall be defined as frequent intermittent barking of more than 15 minutes or sustained barking of more than 15 minutes in the early morning prior to 5 a.m. or late night after 10 p.m. 8, a current valid license from the Pinal County Animal Care and Control shall be maintained at all times while the dog kennel is operational. 9, an action to revoke the SCP shall be initiated by the zoning inspectors or code compliance officers' determination that the property does not meet or is not in compliance with any of these stipulations of approval. Pursuant to Pinal County Development Services Code 2.15.010V, a notice shall be sent to the property owner and or leasee of the property covered by the SCP requiring compliance with the conditions of approval within 15 calendar days. Upon failure to comply with these specified time period, the supervisors, after notification by certified mail to the property owner and or the leasee of the property covered by the SCP, shall schedule and hold a public hearing to determine if the special use complies with the conditions of approval and for possible action. The supervisors may extend the time for compliance or approve or deny the revocation with or without conditions. 10, the property owner and or leasee of the property and or the operator of the kennel shall allow Pinal County employees to enter upon the property upon request for purposes of inspection to ensure compliance with these conditions of approval, which entry shall not be deemed a trespass. At this point, does the board have any questions of staff?
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So my understanding of the SUP is it stays with the property owner, is that correct, or the property?
It would carry with the land in the current indicated use. Therefore, if any change of ownership whereby the operation shuts down, it would cease after a certain amount of time.
Okay, then that's back to my thing. It stays with the property owner, so then you put lessee in there. And so that seems counter to the owner of the property, to me. I mean,
ultimately, the SUP would carry with the land. There's no, as is stated within our code, unless we were to stipulate otherwise, a future leasee could operate on the property.
That was not my understanding of how the SUP operated. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Patrick, Are you sure about the application signed disclaimer deed to the property? She has no claim to the property.
The applicant and the landowners could speak to that. There is a named trustee who has a claim to it.
Go ahead.
So this would be limited to 7 adult dogs. Do we know how many there are now? Aren't there way more than that?
I believe the last number was 30 total, but we can clarify that with the owner.
So, and then how would we, would animal control check up on that, or how is this actually enforced?
Ultimately, it would be a collaborative effort between the animal control and code compliance to ensure adherence to the stipulations.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Surdy, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Surdy, that's a good point, because I noticed in the stipulations on 4, it says limited to, the breeding dogs are limited to 7. But then there's more than that. So how many dogs could there be on that property? If you're not breeding more than the 7, you could have quite a few more dogs.
Did you hear the question, Patrick?
One more. I'm sorry.
So yeah, sorry, Patrick. Stipulation 4 says breeding dogs are limited to 7.
Yes, that's correct.
But
That's what the stipulation would.
But that does not put a limit on the number of dogs that could be on the property, which would be one of the noise issues that you may have.
Ultimately, the interpretation of that could be construed in multiple different ways, but I could see a concern with that. Ultimately, we could discuss that additionally.
Going to legal side, that would be like, well, yeah, I'm not going there, but I'm just saying, but that's one of those ambiguities. It's like, well, there's 7 breeding dogs, but we have 27 dogs. I mean, not there'd be that many, but 27 dogs. But only 7 of them breed, but that's according to the stipulations. The others are just there, so that's a problem, maybe.
I have a question, just because they obtained a non-commercial kennel license, which would be for a specific number of dogs. I'll just use the number 7, but it's only 7 and not more than 7 at any time, and the same. It's always got to be the same 7. In other words, they should be licensed. They should, I would say, should be chipped. Should be that any unannounced inspection where animal control can come by and validate it's the same 7 that are there all the time. It's their personal dogs, is the way it was. Is how I'm interpreting how that would work. That they wouldn't be transporting dogs here and there or back and forth. I guess they could reduce dogs, take them away, but you could never have more than 7, and the 7 would be listed as their personal dogs and there all the time. I don't think that's the intent, but I think that's how it should be interpreted.
I understand that. I would refer any requirements from Pinal County Animal Control as far as the licensure requirements to Audra Michael, who's here in person today. As for the operations, the kennel, and what dogs can move back and forth, I would refer to the applicant as far as their intent.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions for
Not at this time. Not at this time.
So somebody representing the applicant going to present?
Yes.
Good morning, Chairman Miller. Good morning, Supervisors. I'm Jason Sanks. I'm a land use planner. I've been here before. I'm helping the Abbotts with their application. If I may, Shell Abbott brought with her printed letters of support for her case, as well as a map showing where those neighbors live in proximity to her property.
You can give them to the clerk.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and pass those out. It sometimes helps to just print something. So I'm Jason Sanks. I've been working with Ronell Abbott owns the Val Vista Drive property, which is the next item. We switched them on your agenda. Shell Abbott and her husband Russ are here. They own the Gene Drive property. There was some confusion on this ownership thing and trust in the beginnings, like 8 years ago. Michelle's mom, I believe, owned the property briefly, and then it switched hands, and now Shell does own the property. And they're here today. They've asked to speak after I present. I've been working on this for 3 years with them. I'd really like to just focus on the housekeeping items. Shell's a better speaker than I am anyways, so I'm going to let her talk about her business. But first, I just want to tell you that we have been in the process for 3 years. It was unbeknownst to both Rennell and Shell that they needed a special use permit. And in fact, in the mid-2000s, it wasn't required. Rennell had a conversation with county staff in the mid-2000s of her Val Vista property, where she's been doing the dog breeding since '94. And then Shell took on the business, and she lives 2.5 miles away. That is why you have 2 separate applications, because the lots are not contiguous. The mom and the daughter team live 2.5 miles apart, but they're still in the Thunderbird Farms, Papago Buttes area out by Maricopa. So all of the stipulations that you see, there's a lot of confusion and noise here. There's this idea of a petition with 37 neighbors in opposition. They don't even have 37 neighbors. A lot of the people in the initial petition, 8 of the 10 don't even live within range of this property. So I understand that there's some interest in it, but there's a difference between neighbors in opposition and people just signing petitions. The letters I'm sending out right now are the people that live across the street, the opposite side to the west, and the gentleman that lives behind, who's actually also here in support. They support this application. They know the Abbotts well. And then many of those letters of support there are people that understand the business, that have visited this kennel property, and they support the business based on its operations. When it comes to this residential versus commercial on the animal control licensing and permitting, that's based on the number of dogs at the time of the annual inspection. And the Abbotts have just gone with whatever number they've got on site, and they've been in good compliance with animal control for a good many years. And animal control is here to attest that they've passed their inspections and they maintain a very clean property. What I'd like to get to is that I'll let them speak on this. What we have is a neighbor dispute. We have one neighbor that's in opposition to the Abbotts, and that's the gentleman that lives to the east. He's here, and he'll speak for himself. They've kind of had some ill will towards each other since 2016, and as I understand, the gentleman had ill will to the prior owner of the property. The Abbotts want to make this right. They're offering to build that fence and continue it along to both screen their view of Mr. Chad's property, as well as provide screening to their own property for Chad and his wife and children. They already manage barking. They do dog training. They have bark collars on their dogs. They kennelize their dogs at night. They're the only property in the area that actually professionally manages the barking situation of dogs. There are other dogs in the area that bark. If we can bring up slide number 6, that would be great. So in case there's any questions, I think there's a lot of information that's not correct in some of the letters of opposition. The one letter says a kennel is built 15 feet off the property line. It's not. It's 38 feet off the property line. I don't know if you're able to zoom in at all, but you can see that the property is there. The house is in the rear of the property. That kennel is that round roof you see just under the 7. That's 38 feet from the property line to the right. So in addition to extending that 7-foot fence all along that entire property line to screen their view of his items that are kind of collected in the back, he will also be benefiting from the screening of the German Shepherds. They are agreeing to 7 adult breeder dogs. Shell doesn't have maybe but 1 or 2 other dogs at any other time that are her own. All of these dogs are her dogs. She doesn't kennel other people's dogs. You don't drop your dog off and have them watch it for the weekend. These are German Shepherds that she owns that are her dogs. They do breed the dogs, and then they sell the puppies. They pay their taxes on the income. They're up to date with their animal control. They want to make it right, and they're here to speak for themselves. And I could go on forever because I talk a lot, but they're here. I'd like to let Shell speak, and also one of the neighbors needs to check on his dog at home, and he would like to speak as soon as we can get the public, call the public open. Thanks.
Okay.
If I may, I don't know if you would like, but as a kind of a co-applicant, Shell is here to answer operational questions.
If there's any questions, anybody have any questions for Shell?
I have lots of questions, but I'd like to have her speak first, so that might be better if we wait. Or do you want me to ask all my questions now and she has to answer them? That's fine with me.
Well, I think ask questions because I consider the presentation over.
Okay.
So you have any
Sure.
questions?
So some of the issues that I really do have is kind of smoke screens has been thrown over our eyes. And on 4/11/2018, Russell signed a non-commercial kennel. You've already said that you're selling these dogs, you're bringing them over, you ship them back and forth. That's the first issue. The second issue.
Can I address that one first?
Wait. Let me keep
Get
going.
through the questions first.
There's 15 complaints that have happened that have been called into animal control. There's been videos and myself driven by numerous times, and I have seen the dogs run up and down, barking at all times, and I do drive-bys. I've been to both places, as you know. I was very fair. I listened to both sides of the issue. To me, some of these issues are also, I have a list from animal control of 30 dogs. You tell me you have 7 that are your personal, and then I spoke with Jason on the phone, and he had mentioned to me that there's 7, and then every once in a while you bring over some other dogs, and they're kind of like your dogs. They're either kind of like my dogs or it's a business. That's where I feel I've been trying to be smokescreen, and I saw through the smoke. So my issues are all the complaints, all the letters. I just got 3 more today. The 30 dogs, when I heard there's 7 dogs. Signing of the kennel license and saying it's non-commercial, which means you can't have a business on it. Floor is yours.
So for the kennel permit, when we went to zoning, we told them exactly what we were doing, that we were building a kennel for our dogs, and they said as long as you don't have other people's dogs, you're not boarding, you're not training, then it would still be a personal kennel, and it would not need commercial zoning. That's what we were told. I also don't sell any of my dogs. I sell the puppies, which are not raised there. So none of my puppies are ever in there. It's always dogs that are personally in my name. I breed, so all of the dogs that I have are breeding dogs. Every now and again, somebody will have a dog that they're unable to take care of. Maybe it's for a health reason, they have to move out of country. I take those dogs back. Those would then be non-breeding dogs, and I hold them until I can find them a good home. Those would be the ones outside. The 30 dogs she has on there are probably all of the dogs that I've had over the time, but not currently ones that would have been on my most recent application. My most recent application would have, there would be a list of dogs on one, and then a list of dogs on the other at the other home. Because I don't breed or I don't have puppies on my property, then there's obviously going to be a transition of my females that are bred on my property and then are whelped and then raised on my mom's property, and that's the Val Vista property. So that would be the reason for the transition of the dogs that are there. I think those were all the questions.
Did she address all the questions, you think? Yeah, okay.
Yes, she did. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions?
At some point, animal control, I see Audra back in the back there, so I think at some point. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think there's anything else at this time.
You've had your kennel operation for how long now? How many years? On this particular location?
Well, I moved in 2017. Originally, I had 2 neutered males, so I wasn't breeding. As soon as I brought over, I had built my dog kennel first, and then once my dog kennel was built, then I brought over dogs to be in the kennel, and that's when I transitioned over to breeding.
And when you built the dog kennel, you got the permitting and everything?
Correct. Yep. And then they do, so that was one of the questions that come up is inspections. So I do have annual kennel inspections by Pinal County, but I also have, like, AKC will come in, inspect. When I had my federal license, they would come and inspect. So they're doing, I wouldn't say, like, they don't do surprise inspections, but they can at any point, and that's part of what I have to do. And as far as how many dogs, even under my current kennel license, I can't have more than 12 dogs. So I think somebody was saying that I might have 7 breeding dogs and I could have 27 other dogs. 2 reasons I want to do that. Number 1, it would be no benefit to me to have dogs that aren't part of my breeding program. And number 2, I'm still held to Pinal County Animal Care and Control in the number of dogs that I have.
So, real quick, Shell, you didn't announce your name and generally where you live. So,
my name is Shell Abbott, and I'm on Jean Drive.
Okay.
I can go now?
Now you can go.
Okay.
I wanted to get that in before I forgot.
I didn't lose my train of thought, so I'm not going to bring Snowflake back in. Question I have on the kennel itself. What's considered the kennel? The building itself or any of the fencing around it? Because the stipulation is you got to have them in by 9 o'clock. Is that?
It's inside the kennel. So inside the kennel, I have 4x4 fences that only hold 12 dogs. So, and every dog has an individual. It is completely insulated. It's insulated. It's built 2x6, so it's fully insulated and enclosed.
Do they have access to the entire property or just to that location?
Well, when I put them in there, they only have access inside.
Okay, but when you take them out, do they have access to the entire, roam around the entire property?
Yes, so I have a 75 by 75 foot turnout, another 75 by 75 foot turnout, and then I have my entire property. So there's essentially 3 turnout locations that I can turn them out in.
Okay, and then when they're on your property at large, the fencing is adequate enough to be able to contain them?
Yes, I don't have any issues with my dogs being at large.
Okay.
And I have letters from 4 of my neighbors saying that my dogs aren't at large, including the neighbor to the west, which if obviously my dogs were getting out, he would have a real problem with that. The dogs across from me, and then the dogs behind me, which Lloyd is here, and then Vince is also here, which he didn't write me a letter, but he's here to speak, and he's between the other 2 south people that are south of me that have written me a letter of recommendation.
So when you got your kennel license in 2018, or you applied to 17, right?
For how many?
Your kennel license, the license itself.
In 2017.
Okay.
You're not saying 17 dogs, right?
No. I'm saying in 2017, the year.
Right. I think I applied in 2018 because I had gotten my property in 2017.
Okay. Was there any discussion as to the county having anything that we needed to provide that you needed to get from the county? Because part of some of the comments is that we've been operating illegally. So I guess the question is, were you informed by any county employee, by animal control, that you needed some type of special use permit at that time?
No. Not by when I was getting my federal license, the FDA didn't say anything about it. When I got my kennel permit, for my zoning, they didn't say anything about it. When I went to Pinal County Animal Care and Control, nothing was said at that time either.
Okay.
And I think those are the only 3 that came out and physically inspected that I would have thought. And my other inspections are more on my own things like registration and proper care of the dogs, stuff like that.
Okay.
I actually have a question for Patrick, if he could come back up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the wholesale change of the stipulations were not something you see very often. Matter of fact, I can't even remember ever seeing it before. But was that done in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission, or was that done after the hearing?
Ultimately, they were done after the hearing at the direction of our legal.
So then the Planning and Zoning Commission does not know about these stipulations?
The 10 stipulations, no. They had approved the...
They approved the originals.
17 stipulations, I believe.
Yeah. That kind of bothers me, because I think that, the stipulations are the big deal. And I don't know how they would have felt about these new stipulations.
Understood.
Or otherwise.
The intent of this was during you recall that this item was presented at the May 7th hearing and continued to, I believe it was May 7th. It was continued to today's date.
Twice, was it not?
Only for Board of Supervisors, only.
Yeah, that's what
one continuance. The intention of that continuance was to try and address some of those neighbors' concerns, and that was where that rewrite of some of those stipulations came from, was to try and bring in some additional things like those fence standards and limitations on the dogs to try and accommodate some of the neighbor concerns.
Gotcha. I don't know if that's ticky-tacky, but it almost seems like that should have gone back to P&Z with that many stipulation changes.
Our council has something that I think they'd like to add. I'd like to hear from them.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
Chairman Miller spoke to the board
Yeah, I might get there. Okay, okay, thank you. That's my next card. Okay.
30 does. Chairman?
Anybody have any more
I
questions
didn't get to
of
ask.
Patrick?
Yeah, I didn't get to ask.
Okay.
So I believe the representative said that you do have a TPT license, and when sales are made, they do pay the monthly tax, because the one that got approved in the last meeting was not doing that. So, yes, you're paying sales tax on when you do make a sale.
Yeah, so I have to log monthly if I make a sale or if I don't make a sale with the amount that I pay or that I've been paid, and then I pay out of that for city and then county, and then annually I pay my state and federal.
Yeah. So note to staff, we do need to pay attention to that on businesses that aren't the norm like this. I mean, obviously, when you have you're selling a T-shirt, you know to collect taxes, but it happens on every item like this. Also, just so the public knows, we have two screens up here. We have an email. I'm getting emails as we speak, in real time regarding this.
Okay.
Chairman? I also have just another couple questions.
Okay.
In 2018, you had a non-commercial that lapsed for 31 days. Then in 19, you had a non-commercial again that lapsed for 67 days. Then in 2022, you had another one that lapsed for non-commercial for 176 days. 22, you went back to commercial that lapsed for 31 days. And then in 2023, you had a commercial again that lapsed for 386 days. Why the inconsistency?
Well, with the type, it would be. I think that was a conversation that Andrea and even I recently had, because I didn't know I didn't know we were doing commercial and the non-commercial and commercial. I thought it was the same every year, and that's a lack of me paying attention to the paperwork. I believed as long as I was doing my inspections and I was putting all the information down correctly, I paid the same amount. I had the same amount of dogs, so. That was a conversation Andrea recently had. As far as the lapsing, I think it has to do just with the paperwork going through, because like this year we got it in a month before. And then there have been years where we were at a standstill when Andrea and I were like, well, what do we do? Are we allowed to move forward? We were told you can't have your kennel license because you don't have your SUP yet. And so we were in limbo. They were in limbo with zoning, and then she's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and move forward. We'll just keep doing this, and once you get, and then we'll go forward from your SUP. So it's been kind of back and forth with what we're supposed to be doing as far as our kennel permit, because we're not supposed to have a kennel permit without the SUP, but we were currently doing it, so we were kind of in a standstill. And like I said, I think it's paperwork going back and forth. I have to get all my dogs, and then also scheduling. They do have to schedule somebody to come out and take a look at the property. And as you know, Pinal County Animal Control is very busy, and so we schedule it for their next opening. But sometimes it is a couple weeks out, and I'm not trying to tell them you have to get here tomorrow. So.
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Sure.
I would like to feel more comfortable. I think maybe going in and discussing in an executive session and discussing these stipulations more in depth.
Okay, I have a motion to go into
So I have a
session.
motion. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
I have a second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor to go into exec session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. We'll be back shortly. Yeah. Well, yeah, we might end up with it going into session. So I'm just going to recess the exec session at this time and reconvene the Board of Supervisors. So I have not opened the public hearing yet. I have a supervisor that has a question for Audra.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
There's been a lot of discussion as far as amount of dogs and things of that nature, and some reports that have been shown by your department on complaints. Do you Are you familiar with the case?
Yes.
Okay. The complaints that were given, when you went to visit the site and everything else, what was the outcome of all of that? On any of those? I think you identified what? How many? BTLO? How many complaints? 15? Okay.
To animal control? Okay, because in knowing I might get called up, we went back and looked 2 complaints to how many, and we do not have 15 on both properties combined.
Sorry, this is just to the gene address, if you'd like to look at it.
Okay.
You want a copy of that, Natasha? Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to give.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure that this was called into our agency. This might be a complaint that somebody filled out online, maybe.
But 15 complaints, that's all I know.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. From what I understand, we did get a barking complaint in 2017. We got one in 2018, and that was it since then that we have on record that we got. And as for us going out and doing inspections, they've passed every time. We haven't had any issues with them. We haven't had any dogs at large calls or anything like that. And I sign off on all the kennel permits, and I haven't found anything wrong with theirs, as opposed to any kind of violations with our agency. I can't speak for code enforcement or community development.
Okay. But from animal control, you're showing that any complaints that you were able to satisfy those, sign off on them, that everything's good. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's and as far one question I have for you, and I know the answer to it, but I think for the public and for our staff, whenever they came and sought out a license for the dog kennel from you, from animal control, was there any discussion as to other types of permits and things that they needed from the county?
Thank you, Supervisor Goodman. No, we were really not sure how SUPs work. We never really thought to tell them that they needed an SUP until about the last few years. We've been noticing that SUPs are now going to be required for people that are doing breeding or boarding. We didn't really, enforce it, I guess you could say. We never really said, oh, hey, you have to get an SUP before you can get a kennel permit. We never really enforced that before because we were never sure how that worked. And then I do believe when Mr. Billingsley took over as director, I think that's when we started looking into getting SUPs.
Okay. Thank you. That helps with some of the confusion, especially when it comes to the legality of what they're doing. I know that's been a big issue for Supervisor Vitiello, is that you're operating illegally, and I just wanted to try to verify how some of that confusion is actually come about, is in that particular area.
It's communication differences between what code enforcement and community development are interested in and what we are interested in. Obviously, we're interested in the condition of the animals. That's what we're interested in. And we have not seen any sort of violation while we've been doing kennel inspections. And a part of the kennel permits are, one of the requirements is that we can just pop over whenever we want to, and they have to let us in, or their kennel permit would be revoked. So that is in the kennel permit policy. So we can just pop over whenever we want to see if they have 7 dogs, if that's what's going to be stipulated, or if they have 30.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good to know.
And have you been doing those kind of site visits?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All along?
Yes.
Okay. And from your opinion, I don't know if that's allowable. What have you found?
Well, in our business, there are a lot of backyard breeders, and there are a lot of people running illegal kennels that won't let us on the property, don't, properly go about through the USDA or federal or, AKC. And as much as I don't really care for breeders, if they're going to be a breeder and they're going to be a reputable one, then the Abbotts and the Motts were not what I would call illegal kennel breeders. They are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's just from what I see daily.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Audra? All right. Okay, because it was advertised, I'm opening up the public hearing at this time. We are on item 12. So the public comment period is open for item 12. Although I think Jason Sanks, you've already spoke. Did you have any more to add to the public comment period?
Thank you, Chairman Miller and Supervisors. No, I really don't. I think that everyone's just putting the facts on the table and clearing out the smoke. I would like to add that 2 neighbors that did come in support of the Abbotts, they did have to leave. It's the neighbor that lives directly behind her and lives behind her kitty corner as well. They had to leave to take care of their elder dogs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vince Perez. Is he one that left? Okay. And Lloyd Howell. And he's the other one that left. Okay, we got through that. Okay. Item 12. Is it Rebecca Thurer? Thuer? Help me with that last name if you don't mind.
It's Thuer.
Thuer?
Yeah, Thuer. Thuer.
And you live approximately where?
I live at 39413 North Taylor Street in Santan Valley. And I'm speaking for a family that is the, let me see the last name. It is the Finley family. And the letter will explain what they were feeling and thinking. So, good morning, everybody. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the approval of the special use permit, which is on both properties, on the Val Vista one and on the Jean Drive, for the operation of the kennels. My family and I have resided 2 properties away from the Val Vista Road location for over 2 decades, and we have experienced significant and repeated issues related to the applicant's previous kennel operations. These issues included animal regularly escaping from the property and roaming the streets, particularly the Val Vista Road, which poses a danger to the public and to the animals themselves, especially since Ralston-Val Vista is a busy intersection due to the Santa Rosa cooler down on Ralston. Most recently, this past week, the current dogs on the property were running down the street. Aggressive behavior from the dogs that breached the fences, leading to direct confrontation with our own animals. Years back, one of our dogs sustained a permanent injury from the fight through our fence due to these incidents. Lack of responsible animal control. While the applicant often had her children in the past attempt to retrieve the escaped dogs or horses, sometimes their own and sometimes boarded, it was clear there was no consistent or reliable system in place. Persistent noise disturbances due to continual barking from the dogs on the property. While I reviewed the proposed stipulations associated with the permits, my personal experience suggests that this will not be adequate, addressed, and ongoing problems, especially the bark collars. While helpful in theory, are not a reliable long-term solution. In our own experience, bark collars require regular charging, battery replacement, and when left on extended periods, can cause skin irritation to the animals. Noise mitigation. Efforts are unlikely to succeed given the number of dogs and the history of poor enforcement. High fences may contain the animals, but will not contain the sound. Confinement of multiple dogs in spaces limited often leads to increased aggression and barking. further undermining the promise of controlled environment. Regarding the SUP, I believe this property is occupied by one of the Ranelli adult children based on past interactions and ongoing behavior patterns. I do not believe this is sufficient responsibility or maturity demonstrated on management of a kennel operation in compliance with the requirement standards. There's a long-standing pattern of entitlement and disregard for neighbors' concern. In summary, I respectfully urge that you deny both permits. Our neighbors have already endured many years of disturbances, safety hazards, and lack of accountability. These past experiences strongly suggest that neither location is suitable for a kennel operation. Thank you for your time and consideration. The Finley household. Thank you.
Chad Burr? Do I have a card for her? Yeah, it's okay. Sure. Yeah. So, Katie Burr?
Yes, it's Katie Burr.
And that's your name and approximately where you live.
Yes, I'm Katie Burr. Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, Board of Supervisors. Again, my name is Katie Burr. I live next door to the kennel on Jean Drive. I've lost the ability to fully use and enjoy my property. We've owned our place for 24 years. 7 years ago, these neighbors moved in and expanded their dog breeding business from the Val Vista property. We reached out to animal control and code compliance because there were nuisance barking, aggressive behavior, snipping at us when too close to the property line, dogs escaping their property, and at large in the neighborhood, as well as my own yard. Kennels are not a listed reason to obtain an SUP, and this request is disregarding community's wishes and landowners' rights to enjoy peace and safety. A nuisance property that makes its surrounding neighbors change their way of life, like moving horses because it's making their dogs bark, or avoiding use of land or right-of-way because people feel unsafe, is not a use that is the best interest to the public. There is not a need in the neighborhood for this breeding business. Our shelters are full. We avoid 625 feet of our backyard with this property because we are not safe. On the property line, there's a 4-foot wire fence, and offset from that, there's a non-compliant 6-foot sheet metal and OSB board fence that amplifies the sound of the barking and does not offer appropriate protection against escape. When the dogs are in the kennel, again, the barks are amplified. This business shouldn't be in our neighborhood if the neighbors don't want it. Our lives have suffered because of their forced non-compliance. Please vote no today. If this SUP passes, it will live on indefinitely because it is attached to the land rather than the business or applicant. If this property is sold, the buyers will be able to continue this breeding kennel, effectively changing the zoning for the property forever. Stipulations applied further prevent landowners' rights to document nuisance barking from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., basically all waking hours, when neighbors want to enjoy their properties the most. Additionally, the stipulations state that the existing 7-foot privacy fence will be extended the entire boundary line between our properties. The fact is, this fence is about 6 foot tall, as you can see in the handouts, and the sheet metal amplifies the barking. The materials used are not weatherproof or county-approved fencing materials. There are nails and screws sticking out into our property. The metal is falling off the posts on almost every section they built. The metal is rusting through in spots. Please require a 7-foot block wall. This would provide security and help the sound not carry. Barking in the kennels echoes, and the stipulations do not address a hard requirement for the applicant to mitigate this. Currently, they have 7 dogs on their property, maybe more now, I'm not sure. Does this mean that they can also have non-breeding dogs as well? Do not allow more than 7 dogs, period. Noise is already an issue. Special use permits are designed to regulate and take special care and control to ensure public health, safety, and general welfare are protected. Please keep our community, our families, and animals safe. As you vote today, please think about how you would feel if your home, your peace of mind, your ability to enjoy your property was in jeopardy. No one wants to live next to a dog kennel. There is a place for it. The code is there to define that place. I just urge you, I'm a mother and I have 3 little ones. They can't use the property how it's designed. They can't go to the fence because there's German Shepherds that can hop over a 4-foot fence. Thank you.
Okay. Chad, Mr. Burr?
Good afternoon now. Sorry. I'm Chad Burr. I live at 12330 North White Road next to the German Shepherds. So good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and board members. I've lived there for 24 years. These neighbors moved in 2017 and started building a kennel in 2018, 2019. We reported the concerns for safety, the noise concerns, animal control, and code compliance. The neighbors first denied that they were running a commercial operation, but after determining that these dogs housed there were in fact for breeding businesses, they claimed that there were no puppy sales at the property, and only at the Val Vista property. Code compliance said since there was no evidence of puppy sales through the location, their hands were tied. In their application for the SUP, they stated the opposite, and that all puppy sales go through Gene location. There has always been deception and noncompliance in use of their property, and currently in the case being monitored with code compliance and building safety. The neighbor's perimeter fencing is inadequate to retain German Shepherds within property lines at only 46 to 48 inches high. This is evident as many times the dogs are out at large in the neighborhood and have been on our property. Please reference the packet for the pictures and the text with Russ. The section of metal fencing installed along the shared property line is falling apart and dilapidated, likely due to not following the county's fencing guidelines and standards, making them non-compliant as they stand today. Sound waves are amplified through acoustic resonance in metal, whereas in concrete or block, the sound is dampened through the rigidity and lower density of the material type. Please review the community petition handout documenting 31 neighbors and community members that have signed against the SUP. The area map limiting the 1,200-foot buffer shows the associated numerical petitioners and their location to the SUP address. The petitioners not indicated on the map are either anonymous, work for the domestic or irrigation water districts, and interface with the property frequently, or live further away in the local community that this map didn't cover and will not in the immediate vicinity. They are also in SR zoning and also very concerned this SUP approval could set a precedence on their own land rights. The 300-foot opposition map shows the County 300 line and the 6 known neighbors residing within the area in the opposition of the SUP and commercial kennels. Please note that there is one anonymous neighbor who also lives within the 300-foot line that reached out to our district supervisor directly and voiced their opposition. German Shepherds are the number 3 leading in bites and attacks in the U.S., and this is based on studies posted in Forbes and TopDogTips.com, which you can see in the packet. German Shepherds are natural guard dogs, and their natural instinct is to protect their land and people. It was stated in the May 7 BOS. Can I finish? I have one last few more sentences. Please.
Hurry.
Thank you. It was stated in the May 7 Board of Supervisors meeting the applicant was working with the neighbors on stipulations. However, the applicant nor the applicant's representative or family members have tried to reach out and discuss any aspect of the SUP with myself or my wife. I have only received harassing texts.
All right.
The stipulations presented to you today do not fix the safety problem or the sound problems.
Come on. We got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That's all the cards I have for 12. What's the board's pleasure here? What do they think? Any questions of staff?
Quick question for staff. So these, Mr. Chair, the stipulations, and I read that, and now I'm reading it with different eyes, the revised stipulations. So these are after planning and zoning, correct?
That's correct.
So, okay. That's just for this. Thank you. So, may I make a motion, Mr.
Sure.
Because those stipulations were revised after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, that gives me some concern, and I think out of respect for the Planning and Zoning Commission and the number of stipulations that were wholesale changed, I'd like to remand this back to, I move that we remand this back to Planning and Zoning for their approval of these stipulations, because that's what they do, and that they would possibly make some, well, I'm not going to go there, but remand it back to P&Z. And I'm supposed to say that for the June 19th meeting of Planning and Zoning for a date certain to come back July 2nd to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, and for that reason, I think we should keep the public hearing open and not close it. That's
Yeah, yes, and to leave the public hearing open. Thank you. I'll amend that.
Is everybody clear on that motion? Okay.
I can do it
So I
again.
have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay.
Nay.
So I take that 4-1. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move up the ladder to item number 11, which does have a public hearing component as well. But we'll hear a presentation from Patrick, I guess, again, on this item.
Good afternoon now. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Patrick Zay Roberts, Senior Planner, presenting case SUP 00623. This is a request for a special use permit to allow a commercial kennel on a property in the SR Suburban Ranch Zoning District. This property being at 50956 West Val Vista Road in Maricopa. The owner of the property is listed as Renell Abbott, with the applicant being listed as Jason Sanks. And the property is within Supervisor District 1. This is a map of the county showing the approximate location where the site's being considered. A zoning map showing the surrounding properties, also holding SR zoning to the north, west, and east, and then GR zoning and agricultural use to the south. A vicinity map showing the surrounding zoning in the area. An aerial map showing the site in question. And the notification area for the subject property. This is an image looking north towards the property, south towards the agricultural land, east down Val Vista, and west down Val Vista. So I'll try and breeze through these slides since they're very similar to the previous case. Again, the SUP authorizes a use to be developed in a particular way as specified by the permit and its conditions, and the property is conducive with other uses allowed under SR zoning. This is a site plan of this site with the axis oriented from the south of the property. The kennel is located on the northern side of the not on the northern side of the property, but the north of the house, the residential unit, with some turnout areas to the north of the property. So some items for the board consideration. The property is one of 5 similar existing commercial kennels proposed before the commission for SUP action during the January 18th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The property is located amongst other properties with rural and agricultural uses and animal husbandry operations. The commercial kennel use is existing and does not present an impact to public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed SUP is compliant with the standards of the SR zoning district. We'll move on. The SUP approval shall make compatible the existing use with the surrounding land uses. The property features improvements to accommodate an existing kennel use, and this site has been in operation for 31 years. No changes are proposed on the site. The applicant was proactive in seeking to resolve the co-compliance actions and violations on the property, and the applicant has identified a business niche and articulable need in their community. Now, as of this, for this case, the numbers for opposition and support have also changed. For support, we have 8 letters of support, and opposition, we have 35 listed. And speaking to the applicant's comments on the previous case, a number of those are outside the 300-foot buffer, but they're still counted by county staff. On March 20th, following a public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 9-1 of the case SUP 00623 with 12 stipulations. Following the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant and staff further discussed applicability of the recommended stipulations and met to further discuss development aspects with a concerned neighbor. Staff has proposed removal of stipulations 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And staff has recommended amendment of stipulation number 2, an addition of 7 new stipulations specifically addressing the neighbor's concerns, indicated as new stipulations 4 through 9. The new stipulations have been reviewed by the applicant's representative, and they're in general agreement with the revised stipulations. And I'll go ahead and just quickly read these into the record as well with the new changes. The special use permit, the special use permit is issued to the land and shall be binding on the property owner from date of the Board of Supervisors approval. 2, approval of the special use permit, SUP, will require the applicant, owner, developer submit and secure from the applicant and appropriate federal, state, county, and local regulatory agencies all required applications, plans, permits, supporting documentation, and approvals necessary for its operation. 3, signage on the site shall not be permitted. 4, the number of adult dogs for breeding purposes allowed on the property shall be limited to 7 at any time. 5, all dogs on the property shall be housed and maintained inside kennels by 9 p.m. on a daily basis. 6, the applicant shall take appropriate and necessary measures to mitigate any excessive barking, such as the use of bark collars, use of insulation or other materials to reduce the level of sound from kennels so as to avoid disturbing the peace and quiet of another person with excessive barking without cause, i.e. no outside animal intrusion onto the property. Excessive barking shall be defined as frequent and intermittent barking of more than 15 minutes or sustained barking of more than 15 minutes in the early morning prior to 5 p.m. or late at night after 10 p.m. 7, a current valid license from the Pinal County Animal Care and Control shall be maintained at all times while the dog kennel is operational. 8, an action to revoke the SP shall be initiated by the zoning inspectors or code compliance officers' determination that the property does not meet or is non-compliance with any of these stipulations of approval. Pursuant to Pinal County Development Services Code 2.151.010V, a notice shall be sent to the property owner and or leasee of the property covered by the SCP requiring compliance with the conditions of approval within 15 calendar days. Upon failure to comply within the specified time period, the supervisors, after notification by certified mail to the property owner and or leasee of the property covered by the SCP, shall schedule and hold a public hearing to determine if the special use complies with the conditions of approval and for possible action. The supervisors may extend the time for compliance or approve or deny the revocation with or without conditions. 9, the property owner and or leasee of the property and or operator of the kennel shall allow the Pinal County employees to enter upon the property upon request for purposes of inspections to ensure compliance with these conditions of approval, which entry shall not be deemed a trespass. At this point, does the board have any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff?
Just a quick comment that you're practicing for your, advertising career there, reading for the fast.
It'll be a pitch guy. I think I do. It might be more for legal. Can there, because this idea that the SUP goes with the land, could there be a stipulation put in that says, no, if it transfers ownership any way, shape, or form, either lease or sell, that the SUP would go away? Would that be legal to have a stipulation like that?
Ian Durrani from the Pinal County Attorney's Office. Darren just stepped out, but I can handle this question. There is a provision in our code that essentially allows for the SUP to run until there's a conveyance of the land. So it could terminate.
So that could be a stipulation in the future?
Correct.
On any of these SUPs? Okay. Okay, thank you. That was my question. Anybody have any questions for Patrick at this time? Again, for clarity, it appears to be wholesale stipulation changes that the Planning and Zoning Commission did not hear.
Correct.
Okay. Well, because we advertised for a public hearing, unless anybody has any questions for staff, the applicant have a presentation?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Miller and Board of Supervisors. I'll be quick since I know that we've kind of have somewhat litigated this. Just a couple items in regard to the condition that maybe the SUP would terminate upon conveyance of the property. Both Rennell and Shell Abbott's would be fine with adding a stipulation to terminate upon if they were to sell and move away. That's fine. If we want to add that, we could work on the language and go back to P&Z. The revelation from the person that spoke during the last public hearing was actually speaking to this property in regards to the dogs getting out. We don't have any information on that. That's news to us because Shell works on this. She wasn't aware that any dogs were out at the other property, at the Val Vista property, but we will check into that. I don't think this is the first time I've heard of that or reviewed that complaint. There was no complaint made to the county. It's just a letter. I don't know. So we'll look into that as we go back to P&Z on the 19th. And I would suggest, it sounds like this is trending towards a deference back to the P&Z for recommended action back to the Board of Supervisors on the new STIPs, and we're obviously fine with that.
Okay, well, because we advertised the public...
I'm so sorry, Chairman Miller. I'm Jason Sanks, 3500 South Chicana Lane. I'm representing the Urnell Abbott.
Okay, thank you, Jason. But as I said, procedurally, we had announced a public hearing, so we're going to have to open up the public hearing at this time. And so we are now on item 11, and Jason, you just spoke. There's the two folks that have left, Vince Perez and Lloyd Howell, looks like. So if it's left open, they have an opportunity. Chad, did you want to speak to item 11? Okay.
My name is Chad Burr. I live at 12330 North White Road. A concerned neighbor of the Val Vista house asked me to read this letter because she is not here today. So I'm going to read her letter for her. Good afternoon, Patrick. I am writing in opposition to oppose the application for an SUP for Abbott German Shepherds. I do not feel a commercial dog breeding business belongs within a residential community. I watched the P&Z hearing, and my concerns are twofold. One, as they move females and puppies back and forth between the two kennels, there could be upwards of 12 adults at one place at any given time, or more, at any given time. That is too many dogs on 3.3 acres. Item 2, we are only one street over from Val Vista, and when the dogs bark, they really bark. The noise is excessive. I can't imagine trying to live right next door to either commercial kennel. I know they have a reputation for taking good care of the dogs, but when they are loose on the property, they chase the horses there. Apologize. The barking gets very loud, and seeing the dogs chase baby colts is distressing. I always think that they are going to get pushed through a fence. I feel that if they want to expand their puppy breeding business this significantly, it isn't fair to their neighbors. And sincerely, Lori Fuller, 50956 West Esch Trail, Maricopa, Arizona. Thank you.
Okay. Katie Burr, did you want to speak to this item number 11, public hearing portion?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, Katie Burr. I'm here also to read in the letter of a concerned neighbor who couldn't be here. This again is from Tammy Finley. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the approval of special use permits SCP-00623, Val Vista Road, and SCP-00723, Jean Drive, for the operation of kennels. My family and I have resided 2 properties away from the Val Vista Road location for over 2 decades, and we have experienced significant and repeated issues related to the applicant's previous kennel operations. These issues include animals regularly escaping the property and roaming the streets, particularly Val Vista Road, which poses a danger to the public and to the animals themselves, especially since Ralston Val Vista is a busy intersection due to the Santa Rosa cooler down on Ralston. Most recently, this past week, the current dogs on the property were running on the street. Aggressive behavior from the dogs that have breached fences, leading to direct confrontations with our own animals. Years back, one of our dogs sustained a permanent injury from a fight through our fence due to these incidents. Lack of responsible animal control. While the applicant often had her children in the past attempting to retrieve the escaped dogs or horses, sometimes their own, sometimes boarded, it was clear there was no consistent or reliable system in place. Persistent noise disturbances. Due to continuous barking from the dogs on the property. While I have reviewed the proposed stipulations associated with these permits, my personal experience suggests they will not adequately address the ongoing problems. Specifically, bark collars, while helpful in theory, are not a reliable long-term solution. In our own experience, bark collars require regular charging or battery replacement, and when left on extended periods of time can cause skin irritation to the animals. Noise mitigation. Efforts are unlikely to succeed given the number of dogs and the history of poor enforcement. High fences may contain the animals, but will not contain the sound. Confinement of multiple dogs in a limited space often leads to increased aggression and barking, further undermining the promise of a controlled environment. Regarding SCP on Jean Drive. I believe this property is occupied by one of Rennell's adult children based on past interactions and ongoing behavior patterns. I do not believe there is sufficient responsibility or maturity demonstrated to manage a kennel operation in compliance with the required standards. There's a long-standing pattern of entitlement and disregard for neighbors' concerns. In summary, I respectfully urge you to deny both permit applications. Our neighborhood has already endured many years of disturbances, safety hazards, and lack of accountability. These past experiences strongly suggest that neither location is suitable for a kennel operation regardless of proposed stipulations. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, the Finley household. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rebecca Thur, would you like to speak on item number 11? Name and your location.
Yep, Rebecca Thur, 39413 North Taylor Street in Santan Valley. And I'm reading a SUP opposal letter from Bill Vincent, resident of Thunderbird Farms. I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed special use permit that would allow a commercial kennel to operate on a 3.3-acre lot. This proposal sets a dangerous precedent. Zoning regulations exist for a reason, to protect the integrity of a residential community and ensure the health, safety, and well-being of residents, animals, and the surrounding environment. Commercial kennels bring increased noise, traffic, sanitation concerns, and potential animal welfare issues that are incomprehensible with the intended use of the lot of the size and zoning classification. Approving this permit would undermine the zoning protections that residents rely on and could open the door to further inappropriate commercial encroachments into our rural or residential areas. Please do not approve this special use permit. I urge the board to uphold the existing zoning regulations and prioritize long-term interests of the community. My wife sells real estate and has already experienced the barking dogs at feeding times on this property, and is ridiculous. Imagine this was going on to be in your neighborhood, and would you want to accept this then? It's not fair to the surrounding homes. Thank you for your attention and consideration. Sincerely, Bill Vincent, resident of Thunderbird Farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the Board of Supervisors on this public hearing of item number 11? Okay, seeing none, does the board have any questions of staff or presenters? What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, again, out of respect for Planning and Zoning Commission and the number of stipulations that were revised after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I move that we remand this back to Planning and Zoning for their June 19th meeting to be brought back to the Board of Supervisors on July 2nd. And to keep the public hearing open.
Second. That's a great motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
4-1. Thank you very much. Okay, folks. Takes us to item number 13 on the agenda. Discussion, approval, or disapproval of case CSR 016-24, Megan Neal, Tri-Point Homes, LLC.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and the board members. My name is Valentin Panchenko. I'm planner, and I'm here to present to you CSR 016-24 case. This is a comprehensive sign package to approve the installation of total 29 signs, including 17 permanent and 12 temporary signs, with a sign area maximum of 322.5 square feet within the master planned community, residential subdivision of Ware Farms, generally located southeast of intersections East Combs Road and North Canversey Road in Santan Valley, east to Encantera. So the applicant, Trip Point Homes developer, is asking and provided sign package to provide the subdivision residents and visitors with an enhanced level of signage, which is allowed by code with the approval of comprehensive sign package. So it's expands the allowed signage, but the code provision says that it actually can be supported by the Board of Supervisors if it exceeds more than 50% of allowed signage area. So here's a map of location for the signage. Here's the vicinity map, east to Alcantara. That's whole red area is the subdivision, master plan subdivision. Here is aerial map, it's under construction. Here is a comprehensive sign package with listing all of signs. The bottom one, neighborhood ladder signage, is a temporary signage they applied for. And here you can see on the right corner, you will see allowed per code, number of signs, square footage for one sign, and total signage for each category. And you will see that they actually exceeding the number of signs for gated entry signs. It's allowed to have 3 sign entry signage for the subdivision, but they do not exceed the one sign maximum square footage, and they do not exceed the total square footage for such kind of signage. And they do exceed the number of temporary signages. That's allowed only 5 with total of 100 square feet. They're proposing 12 with total square footage of 168 square feet. So that's what they are exceeding, and that's what they are asking to approve for. Here's the signage map location. You will see there a road from the west to the east and to the north, and that's a county road inside the larger master planned community. And they have those temporary and exceeding number of gated signage. Those are located to different, at the entrances to different phases of this master plan community. Here's examples for the design of those signages. Primary entry sign, north side, secondary entry sign, gated entry sign, parcel gate entry sign, park signage, neighborhood ladder signage, temporary, and back again, so you will see the perspective of those locations. Also, it's worth to mention that current sign standards were designed for conventional subdivisions and may not fully address the scale and branding needs for the large multiple phases master plan community. It's like the same question between equity and equality, when your equality is about providing the same allowance for signage, but the equity, it's what different scale of development needed for the same level of advancement of success. And the current code say that the subdivision that was designed to have this number of allowed signages, it's 30 plus units. That master plan community way larger than 30 plus units. And the current code provisions making the equal sign between 30 plus units and 120 sign community. And yeah, that's generally the proposed signage aligned with community identity principles and encouraging by sustainable design principles and placemaking. They're providing all signage to smaller phases, and basically each of those phases they have gated entrances to. They can separately be considered as subdivisions. So the proposed signage total square footage is 322.5 square feet. Sign review committee approved and recommended approval with one stipulation. Stipulation is regarding the temporary signage, and the code has this exact provision of the stipulation that temporary signage shall be removed no later than 2 years from the date of approval of the comprehensive sign package or upon closure of the sale office, whichever occurs first. It's a direct provision of the code. In this presentation, at that point of time, there was no public comments received. One opposition letter has been received yesterday and forwarded to the board. I tried to call the person who submitted the letter to get insight about that opposition letter, because that letter said about they are not agree with number of permanent signs, and those signs should be removed after the construction. But basically, the applicant exceed mostly square footages for the temporary signs, and there are stipulations that address this one. So those temporary signs should be removed after 2 years or upon the closure of sales office, and only some gated entry permanent signs, they exceed the number of allowed gated signs, but not the square footage. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to have some answers from the applicant who submitted that opposition letter to get some insights and explain that one. So here's recommendations for a board to consider. I'm here to answer any question the board have to me.
All right. Any questions? I love signs. They work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You don't have to give them vacation or anything. Signs are great. We don't have enough of them, in my opinion. But anyway, any questions?
No.
All right. Is there an applicant here who want to say anything?
No.
No?
No, not here.
Okay. All right. What's the board's pleasure?
Do we need public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing. All right. Let me open up the public hearing.
My pleasure is we have a public hearing, Mr. Chair.
Well, we're going to have one right now. It's going to break out any second now. Who wants to comment on this? Nobody. I'm going to close this public hearing.
Oh, but that was my pleasure.
What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 13 with one stipulation.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 14. I think we're getting a little punchy up here. Item number 14, a discussion, approval or disapproval of CSR 022-24. You're back.
Yeah. Good afternoon again, the board members. I'm Valentin Panchenko, planner, here to present case CSR 02224. It's a comprehensive sign package to approve for the installation of 15 signs, including 9 banner flags, 1 sales gallery signage, 1 model home identification, 1 handicap directional signage, and 2 parking signs, and model home complex within the Bella Vista Farm residential development, generally located to the northwest of the intersection of North Shepf Road and East Roberts Road in Santan Valley area. Here's location. Here's a vicinity map. It's the model complex home located within the subdivision inside. Here's the more visible. Those are 3 parcels that taking part in this submission. Here's a comprehensive sign package with allowed as per code in the right one column. So generally, code says it's 5 signs with maximum height of 12 feet and maximum area 100 square feet can be allowed for subdivision. In such cases, the applicant has more than 515 signs, but the square footage will be under 100 square feet. And also applicant include handicapped directional signage, which are ultimately allowed by ADA, but they're willing to provide it as a package, so any code enforcement will come and they will see the signings already included in the previously approved potentially package, and no one will question those ones. Again, the model home complex is currently operating under temporary use permit that can be extended, and currently it remains valid until October 13th, 2025. Approval of the comprehensive sign package would enhance general visibility, recognition, and symbolic presence of the development's branding as commonly used by other developments supported by the applicant and other developers. So it's pretty usual signage. Signage plan is presented here. It's worth to mention that there are banner flags, 9 of them, 5 located to the east of those 3 parcels. They fully meet all requirements of the code, but those 4 to the south, blue dots next to 2 trees, those doesn't meet the requirements of 12 feet, of 50 feet setbacks between each others. So those ones, but anyway, it's pretty reasonable to locate those banners as attention for the house of a model home house, so that's pretty understandable, and they're not giving any view from the crossroads that located directly to the south of that location. So nothing actually concerning from the staff point of view. And also, additionally, the applicant submitted and included the flagpole during the sign review committee process, but then after the sign committee was approved, actually a recommendation to the board, the applicant removed the flagpole from the application. So it's no longer within this CSR package. And yes, so that's already told. Here is examples of what applicant planner to put. This is banner flags. Here's sales gallery sign, model home identification sign, handicapped signage, parking signs, and general provision. So the total square footage will be 91.3 square feet. Sign review committee recommended approval with 2 stipulations. Second stipulation is related to the flag, but it still remains, and that's informative stipulation. There is no public comments on the proposed signage up of today. Any question to the staff?
Any questions? Okay, let's open up a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody have any comments about this sign package? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, board's pleasure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 14 as presented with 2 stipulations.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Brings us to item number 15, consideration and possibility of adoption of a resolution approving the sale and execution and delivery of pledged revenues. Go ahead, Angie. Come on up.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board. Angie Woods, I'm the Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. Before you, we have consideration and possible adoption of a resolution. It would authorize the county manager, deputy county manager, and myself to execute documents pertaining to obligations on behalf of the county. As you remember, as I'm sure you remember, we have had several, I think 3 presentations in the last several months and a public hearing on April 30th regarding the execution and delivery of these obligations. I don't have any additional information to give you at this point in time. I do have myself and partners at Stiefel available if you have any questions in regards to the execution of the resolution.
Okay, any questions for Angie at this time? No, not seeing any. Who's next? Mr. Reeder or Mr. Liu?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this is the delegation of authority to execute, the transactions, including the issuance and the underwriting. And so you would potentially not see this in front of you again. We may, if everything worked out well, look at the pricing and authorize in the first week, probably second week of July. And so I guess I know that one of the questions has come up about some concern on the volatility of the bond market and rates. And I know specifically, Chairman, that you had some questions even at our previous meeting. I think that if we'd like to discuss, some of the floor, ceilings, and parameters around the decision-making, no or no-go criteria on that, Mr. Reeder can probably help with that. Otherwise, again, this includes refinancing for savings on some previous debt, ASRS pension, and all the new construction projects we've talked about. So that's this package, and if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to entertain them. But if Mr. Reeder wanted to talk about the market volatility, we can.
I do want to talk about that, so I'd like Mark to come up. But just in general, can it be cafeteria, take some and not all, or is it all or nothing? That's, I guess, really my other question.
Thank you, Chairman. It can be a cafeteria, and each of those items on the menus can have their own parameters and no or no-go criteria applied to them, or eat or no eat.
Exactly. I am concerned that this bond market is trending up quite a bit. I don't see a reason for it to come down, to be honest.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Glad to help share some news about the market. As you know, the market has been volatile. The bond market's been volatile. The tariffs have not been helpful in terms of, stability in the market. There's still some uncertainty in the market. That being said, our muni market is hanging in there with us. The treasuries are up. Interest rates are up on the treasuries a tad, right? Because of primarily driven by the tariff situation. But our munis are hanging in there. So we have about 6 weeks before we go into market. We may go in right after July 4th, depending upon where the market is. We have our parameters on all three transactions, and we're only going to pull the trigger on all three transactions if we meet our parameters. Okay? So on the refunding side of the equation, if you remember, we had about $490 money, if you remember. We're going to try to get you in the 3% range somewhere. We're going to try to get somewhere around $2.5 million of savings. If the market doesn't allow that, we're not going to pull the trigger. We have, we call putting it on the shelf. Corporate America does this a lot. We've been through the approval process together the last 6 months. With your approval today, we're going to manage our way through the market. And if the market's off and we're not hitting our targets, we're not going to go. Okay? So the refunding and the ASRS, we have our savings parameters on our new money, our $190 million new money. If you recall, we kind of have some parameters on that. On that one, we were trying to achieve kind of a level debt service, if you remember. We're right around $12 million, give or take. And so we're also going to keep our eye on that number as well. So I hope I'm answering your question. There's uncertainty. We're 6 weeks out. We're going to manage through the uncertainty. We're going to communicate with the county, certainly your staff, and certainly any board member that wants to participate. And then we're going to time our entry into the market. So I hope that answers your question. There still is some uncertainty out there, but our muni market's kind of hanging in there with us. So let's hope that continues.
Okay. That ceiling, was that 4.9? Is that what you said?
On the
Old money.
On the refi.
the refunding, yeah, on the excise tax revenue bonds, the first piece, we're in the high 4% range, trying to get in the 3% range to get to the $2.5 million. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the rest of it?
Yeah, same thing on the ASRS.
All of it is at the 4.9 is the ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what my question is. Okay.
So
The rest of your answer is we're trying to get in the threes.
And we're trying to get it in the
yeah, on the refunding, remember the ASRS is taxable, remember?
Right.
Remember the AS is we got to go in the taxable market. That's driven by the Treasury, so that's the one we're going to be a little careful with and lock into our savings there at an efficient level of savings that makes sense for the county.
But Chairman, just to clarify your question, the new money, Mark, the ceiling on the new money, I think is what, Chairman, what you were asking for. What is our ceiling on the new money, all in TIC?
Yeah, I think on that one there, Mr. Chairman, and Paul, I don't know if we have what our parameter is in there. We were trying to, back at our public hearings, if you remember, I view the ceiling as, we ran it at a 475 number. Remember that? Yeah. I estimated when we were doing the public hearing and the press releases and everything we have to do, kind of a high number. If you remember, we were going to do 30-year amortization to spread the capital costs over a number of years. I think the board was comfortable with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let future generations help pay for this. So when we ran it at 475 at 30 years, we had about a little less than $12 million a year level debt service on the county budget. So to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, our parameter is really more driven by, I think, the debt service amount. Unless you wanted us to limit it at a 475 number or what have you, but we were kind of thinking more so on the budgetary side, somewhere a little less than $12 million a year, depending upon where rates are at.
Yeah, with the 50-point basis cushion, if you remember, we built into the public notice.
Yeah.
Well, is it because if you were looking at the debt service at 12 million,
yeah,
and your interest rate pops up, do you have the opportunity to push it out to 32 years?
Yes,
okay.
We do. Paul,
so is that?
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
No,
not sure if we had in the resolution.
Is that how we had it in the resolution?
Yeah, I was going to ask Paul if he could.
Because that's what you're looking at is the debt service. We're using that as kind of your
Mr. Chairman,
target.
Members of the board, Paul Gales with Greenberg Charg. We're special counsel to the county with respect to this financing. The out parameter in the resolution for final maturity is 2056. So that'll be
that's the 30 year.
That's 30 years.
Yep.
So looks like we're limited unless they wanted to change it, I guess, Paul, right? If you wanted to go 31, you wanted to go 31 years, I'm not 32 years, rates go up, we go out an extra year to meet the 12 million, that's fine. Or we leave it at 30, rates go up, we just downsize the deal. And we don't do all one.
You don't have, yeah, exactly.
Have to do all one.
There's only two places where you can fix it.
Yeah.
Either the amount or the time.
That's right. So, hope that's
Do you have a
helpful.
question? Oh. Anybody have a question?
I see McClure. He's thinking.
He's thinking of a question.
Yeah.
McClure's.
I think so like on the new money, what your ceiling is 475, but where are we sitting now? If we pulled the trigger tomorrow, where would we be?
I think we're around 4. I would say right now probably 4.5.
Mm-hmm. Has that
in this market?
Has that risen in the last quarter, in the last month?
It's gone up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Better
I'd say
off
we're
a quarter.
4.5 on 30, maybe low 4s. You're really quality credit. We have a fairly sizable transaction, right, gentlemen, for the county. So I'm confident that if we were in the market today, we'd be in that kind of 425, 435 range. But we need a little bit of wiggle room here, need a little understanding as we get into the market. So,
425, 435 now? I mean,
yeah,
roughly?
I'd say right around there. Maybe 450. I think we're there. 475 here. I'd say we're around 450 now. And
do I hear 4.1?
As my good friend Omar, who was here earlier, my pension colleague Omar, says that we fight for every basis point. So we're in the marketplace for you. So thanks for your understanding. I appreciate your questions. We know there's lots of questions today about interest rates, right, that we're all faced with. And we'll manage our way through it and communicate with the county and staff and make sure we do the right thing. So
The good news is we have good credit.
Yeah.
Bad news is we have good credit.
So thank you very much. I hope I answered your questions. And,
Okay, well, now that I have the parameters really locked into my head, that's where I want to be.
So the objective today is to adopt the resolution.
That
so
will allow them
to move forward.
Move forward when they think they're ready to move.
When it's ready to pull. Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, correct. And Chairman, we do have to wait the 30 days for it to cure. So that's why
this resolution.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
This requires a 30-day grace period. Yes.
But by adopting it today,
Yeah.
that 30-day will begin today.
Yeah, that's why we're talking beginning of July.
Okay.
And
All right, perfect.
What are the two stipulations, just to be clear?
I think that's a clerical error on the printout that you have.
I'm trying to figure out what zoning regulation we're going through. So just looking.
So there is no
Natasha
stipulation.
wants us to put two stipulations on this?
I know, like, what is that?
That's okay. She just wants to know if we're reading the the packet.
Should have found out in a minute.
All right. Board's pleasure. If there's no more questions. You good? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 15 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call vote.
Aye. Oh, roll call.
Roll
I'm
call.
sorry. Roll call.
Kaiser, Bullweed.
Supervisor Vitiello?
Yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Yes.
Supervisor Surtee?
Yes.
Vice Chairman McClure?
Yes.
And Chairman Miller?
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. Seeing there's no more items on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.
Chairman, if we can close the executive session.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't go back into. Somebody close the exec session.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn executive session, reconvene, or, well, just adjourn the executive session.
I have a
I'll
motion
second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. And now I'm going to adjourn this meeting.